to another edition of the Pete Sheppard Show, live from the Naplesville Planning Studio here on the Riptide Media Network. Oh, how's everybody doing? Recovering from the Memorial Day weekend. Hope everybody shared any memories of our fallen soldiers, and if you know somebody was still active in the military, or hope you gave them praises, because that's what it's all about, was memories of the great men and women, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, Coast Guard, National Guard, doesn't matter. Anyway, how are you this morning? I am Pete Sheppard here until 10 a.m. on this Tuesday, May 28th. How is everybody doing today? Unfortunately, right now, I cannot hear Angel Martinez, but which is unfortunate because he's a big executive producer and host as well. Martinez and Company is coming back today after this show. Lots to talk about. We're having a little glitch on his end, just so you know. So I can play some sound from where I am. Angel can play videos, which I have many of today in memory of Bill Walton, the late, great Bill Walton, who passed away at 71 yesterday. And I'm going to do a real big tribute to him. Celtics moving on to the NBA Finals, finishing off the Indiana Pacers in 4. And we'll have a Stanley Cup playoff recap, MLB recap. Angel Hernandez, one of the worst umpires in the history ever, has retired, thank God, at the age of 62. The Florida Everblades in action tonight, trying to close out the Adirondack Thunder on the road in Glens Falls, New York. A little preview there. Some NFL and college football news as well. 100 days from today, Baltimore, Kansas City. 100 days from today. And a whole lot more. A whole lot more. So, again, I apologize. We cannot hear Angel on the other end, but you will be able to hear. I cannot hear him. You guys can hear him. Angel, as long as I'll say good morning to you anyway. I'll just watch and wait for your lips to stop, and then I'll just continue. But I wanted to say good morning to you and hope you had a great holiday weekend, even though right now I can't hear you.
Good morning, Pete. I know. Don't worry, folks. We get things straightened out because it's what we do. But thank you all. We hope you all enjoyed your Memorial Day weekend. Never forget the fallen, as I talked about it on Friday. Remember the men and women of this great country, of the Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, and of course the Coast Guard. Also our fallen police officers, as we talked about it on Saturday at the Orlando Predators game. So we hope that everyone, even if you have a family member, thank them for the service to our country. And we appreciate everything they've ever done in their lifetime. So thank you all. We hope you guys have a great day. And don't worry, we'll get everything straightened out. So I'm going to hand it back off to Pete as soon as he stops seeing me talking. Pete, back to you, sir. Look at the screen, Pete. Peter,
All right, Angel. Well, yeah, I just checked the app, and you're coming through loud and clear, so I appreciate that. Anyway, thanks for everybody for checking us out here at the Pete Sheppard Show on the Riptide Media Network. The phone number to text or call, 727-858-6650. You can also watch the show on the Riptide Media Network video platform. On Twitter X, follow me at PShep326. On my Facebook and Broad Street South Facebook and YouTube pages, Rumble, LinkedIn, Spotify, and Twitch. So I'll be here till 10 a.m. My guest today coming up, Patrick Gilroy, NBA insider. He'll join me at 9:05. Well, the bat signal has been sent out to Ron, our engineer. We'll see. 9:05 a.m. Patrick Gilroy, NBA insider, will join me. 9:30 a.m. Mick Calagio, NHL insider, will join me as well. Of course, you can join me on the text line 727-858-6650. All right, we will continue rather than me bitching and moaning because I can't hear Angel again. We're just going to keep the show going as best we can. I got a lot of video I'm going to play for you guys. An emotional day. I'll just tell you my own dealings with Bill Walton, and only was around him a couple times, but he joined our show on more than one occasion. back in Boston, myself and Glenn Ordway, who was the color man to Johnny Most back in the day, and then did play-by-play for the Celtics. But he was there doing the radio stuff when Bill was playing for the Celtics. And there was never been, Celtics pride and all that stuff and what it means to be a Celtics and a Celtic player and be part of the organization. Arguably the most historic franchise in the NBA. I mean, they were the first team to have a black player. They were the first team to have an all African American starting five. They were the first organization to have a black head coach. And besides all of that, all the championships and what it means to be a Celtic. But man, Bill Walton, and when the Trailblazers won the title for Portland back in 1977, and he was MVP the next year, he didn't talk about those days a lot. When he came to the Celtics, I have never seen anybody in my life more proud to be with an organization like Bill Walton was with the Celtics. I mean, it was really unbelievable. It's like Portland never even existed. I mean, he would still talk about UCLA, and not that he didn't respect his teammates and stuff. And I think he beat your 76ers, by the way, in the finals in 77, Angel. Big brawl in that series, too, at one point. Not Bill, but others. But he beamed with pride with playing with the Celtics. Of course, he won an MVP, and then he won the Sixth Man of the Year award with the Celtics in '86. Now, I just remember the first exhibition game I ever saw him play, and he had a couple of over-the-shoulder passes and stuff, and we're all used to Parrish. And Parrish was great, but Robert Parrish, the Chief, was a great two-way center, running up and down the floor. Nobody better. Blocking shots. He was a very good passer as well. Walton was better at passing the basketball and just had a knack for doing everything right. Everything right. You very rarely just say, "Oh man, Walton screwed that up." He was just awesome, and he beamed pride. He loved the zest for life. You could see it. And I can go on, but I'm going to let others tell their stories as well, because we got some amazing video coming up with Bill Walton. I have a lot of highlights from the Celtics last night, but to me, this is more important. I wanted to share a lot of this with you. Some of these videos you might have seen already, some you may not. We all know, if you don't know, what a big Grateful Dead fan that he was. Bill saw them well over 100 times. It's a real funny story that I have a video coming up of when he took the Celtics to see a show. It's very funny. The only thing I remember, Bill, we had him on by phone, and we were at the Garden once doing our show before one of the playoff games or something, and he was there, and he joined us for a few minutes, and I forget what I said. I forget whatever it was, myself or Glenn, but I remember, and this is from a man who had a major stuttering problem through much of his years at UCLA. Before he got into broadcasting, he really obviously worked at it, and he enunciated as well as anybody and had a grasp of the English language as well as anybody that's ever lived. That's why he was so pronounced with some of his the way he spoke, and he was tremendous. A lot of people don't realize that. But I just remember, Angel, the one thing he said to me after an interview or something like that around the year, he'd say, "Peter, I really appreciate your perspective on things." And as best as I can do, Bill Walton. And it's something that's always stuck with me. And it's so funny because everybody knew him as Bill. The only one, I think I've said this before to you guys, the only one that called him William was Robert Parrish. And Robert had a big, deep voice too. Very, 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 very distinguished boy. He would say, William. That's what he called William. And I know I've said this before too. I'll never forget, after the Celtics 86, arguably one of the, I still think it's the greatest team top to bottom to ever live, the 86 Celtics. They lost their first game to a very crappy New Jersey team on the road. They opened up the season with a bad loss to the Nets on the road. Game one. After the game, Bill comes into the locker room. This is a legendary story. I was not there for this, but I know the whole story. And he's like, I stink. I don't belong in this league. This, that. He's just ripping himself to shreds. I don't know if I can do this anymore. And Bird and Parrish both went up to him, kind of smacked him upside the head and said, Bill, it's 1 out of 82. Relax. You're great. You're going to be great. Don't worry about it. But that's how that's how Bill was, and he was amazing. So many stories. So many videos to show you with Bill. We'll get to the Celtics highlights as well. I think this is more important. I just wanted to share some of the stories about Bill Walton and his passing. I didn't know he was that sick. I don't think anybody did. Battling cancer. He did his last broadcast not too long ago on the Pac-12 network. Now, his longtime partner on ESPN for much of it, I mean, he worked at NBC, he worked at ESPN, he worked at a lot of networks. But I think mostly he worked with Dave Pasch of ESPN for the most part. A lot of Pac-12 games, a lot of them maybe you didn't see him at night as much because he did a lot of UCLA, Arizona, USC games, all that stuff. But let me just start with this story. And Andrew, you'll let me know with a thumbs up. Hopefully this is going to come through. I'm going to play it from here. This is just the audio. Dave Pasch, his connection to Star Wars. That's all I'm going to say. Bill Walton, Dave Pasch's recollection of Bill Walton on his connection to the Star Wars franchise.
I mean, it was all spontaneous. He never told me he liked it that way. He I think, viewed it as I was, in a way, his competition, and it brought him back to his playing days where he didn't want to talk to me at all before the game. We never rehearsed anything, so I never knew what was coming. And I just remember the last game we did together, February 1st. We're doing a game at USC, and George Lucas comes up somehow, and I said, yeah, how was your audition for Chewbacca? And not only did he go with it by saying he auditioned and didn't get the part, but he then said that Chewbacca basically was fashioned in his image and that the character was created after Bill. And we totally made the story up. And all of a sudden, like People Magazine, all of these Hollywood reporters are writing stories, and they're finding old George Lucas quotes about how actually Chewbacca was not created in the image of Bill Walton. But he and I just died laughing how people took it so seriously. And that was my most recent memory because it was the last time I saw him. But there were so many over the last 12 years, especially on the Pac-12 games.
Yeah, Dave Pasch, and we'll hear. He's got some other stuff as well. We'll hear more from him. If we could, Angel, let me see. I want to play you this story. This is great. It's under my Twitter page. It's from Josh Carpenter. He says, I love this Bill Walton story about the Celtics seeing the Grateful Dead for the first time. If we could play that video, that would be awesome. And this was Bill in a nutshell. And this was absolutely a wonderful story. Bill Walton taking the Celtics to a Grateful Dead show.
One day at practice, Larry Bird and Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish and Dennis Johnson, they cornered me. They came over and said, what's going on, Bill? I said, what do you mean what's going on? We're just getting ready for practice. And they said, no, Bill, something's happening here in Boston because there's all kinds of people with tie-dye T-shirts on. They all got long hair and they smell funny. What's happening here? I said, well, the Grateful Dead are coming to town. They said, really? Grateful Dead? Jerry Garcia, they're going to play in Boston? Do you know those guys, Bill? I said, yeah. And I know them. I'm going to go to the concert too. And they said, well, do you think we could go too, Bill? I said, let me check it out. And so I go out and I asked Ramrod and Big Steve and Robbie Taylor and all the guys if it would be all right if some of the Celtics would come. And they said, sure, no problem. But I had to explain to everybody in the Grateful Dead that this was, in Boston, and the Celtics were just icons. And they couldn't really go out in public because they were so popular. So they said, we'll take care of this, Bill. And so they built this special little enclave right on the side of the stage where, unless you were on the stage, you couldn't look into this little area. It was all curtained off and everything. Just a perfect little place to watch the concert. And everybody that night met at Larry Bird's house. Everybody, that is, with the exception of Danny Ainge, his wife, wouldn't let him go. And so here we were at Larry's house. We met at Larry's house, and he arranged for this incredible fleet of limousines for us to all go to the concert together. And so we get there, and I'm introducing all the guys backstage. Jerry, here's Larry, Kevin, here's Bob Weir and Phil and Robert Parrish and Dennis Johnson, literally everybody just going around. And then Cameron comes up, Cameron and Robbie, they come up and they say, okay, it's time to start the show. Let's go, you guys. And so they take us up on the stage first, and the lights are all dark, so you can't see anything. And we sort of sneak around and we go in the back, and then they bring these coolers full of our favorite drinks, milk and water and 7-Up, and put them right in front of us. And then the Grateful Dead come up on the stage, and the crowd just goes nuts. It's the most electric atmosphere, and everybody jumping up and down, the anticipation, the excitement. What could be better? And these guys on the Celtics had never seen a Dead show before. I mean, hundreds of shows for me. And so while the band is warming up and taking the last few notes, the excitement is just so palpable. Your skin is just goosebumps, electric as can be. Jerry Garcia, he steps forward into that little shaft of light, right where his microphone is, just to make sure everything is perfect, making sure his foot pedals are all there. And then he looks over into the enclave, and he makes eye contact with Larry Bird. And he looks at him, gives him a nod, a little wink, and he says to him, he says to him, Larry, this is what we do. And then he turned back to the audience and just blew it out. 5-6 hours. Unbelievable. The crowd just absolutely on fire. The show's over. The band races off the stage. They got to get to the next show. The lights come on. Everybody is just wild-eyed as can be. It's so charged up. And the guys on the Celtics, they look at me and they say, wow. Oh my gosh, can we come back tomorrow? And they've been going ever since.
There he is, Bill Walton. That's just one of the stories. I'm going to play a lot of videos with him, a tribute to Bill throughout the day. If you have any memories or your favorite Bill Walton memory, feel free to text it in 727-858-6650. I'm going to play some Celtics highlights from last night, and then afterwards, when we come back from the break, I'll never forget the night. I've got the from the Athletic, Chris Vanini posted the video, and we'll repost it here. Frank Caliendo joined. It was an Oregon-Arizona State game on ESPN late, so Dave Pasch and Walton were doing the game. Frank Caliendo joined them at one point and was doing Bill Walton at the game. It was absolutely hysterical. We'll get to that in just a little bit. Meanwhile, okay, so the Celtics moving on to the NBA Finals once again. 23rd time in their storied history, 17 championships. So that makes them 17-6 in the NBA Finals in their historic franchise history. All right, let's get to the game. This was another outstanding game, and these are the type of games that I'm not sure, and I don't care that Halliburton didn't play. I heard a quote today coming in from the radio crew doing the game, and PJ Carlesimo, great coach from Seton Hall back in the day, great, and coaching the NBA as well. And basically, he went on and on about saying, if you are not respecting this Celtics team, and if you're just making excuses up for the other teams, but this, that, he just went on and on. And he goes, I question your basketball IQ. Thank you, PJ. Thank you. I'm so sick and tired of people dumping on this team because they feel like they haven't won by enough, or they quote unquote got lucky. This, that, and the other thing. This team is the best team in the NBA for a reason. It's because they are so deep. They are so deep. Do they need to play better against probably Dallas? Well, yeah. I mean, and they're going to get Porzingis back for that series as well. The thing is, this team is so good that they can have sort of lackluster performances against quote-unquote undermanned team, and they still swept them. And you could say what you want about Indiana doing this or not doing that. Well, the Celtics played suffocating defense once again down the stretch last night. Once again, in crunch time, doing what they had to do. They rebound well, they make steals, and they make clutch shots. That's what they do. That's why they're the best team in the NBA, and that's why they're going to win the whole thing, in my opinion. And I know it's like championship or bust for much. And there are those out there who are lazy and just going to say, well, they really didn't have any tests going into the finals. Look, I respectfully disagree. That Indiana Pacer team, even with Halliburton not playing, is still a very good team. You saw what they did. And every three they were throwing up last night was going in. And it was because of pretty good and it was pretty good Celtics defense as well. But in the end, when crunch time, push came to shove, the Celtics are the ones that got it done. Derek White late in the fourth quarter.
Brown on the drive, pulls back, lost the ball, got it back, kicks it out. White, corner three, bang! Derek White from downtown. Celtics by 3.
Yes, and again, the final score, that was the last bucket of the game, 105-102. Derek White, Celtics coming from behind again. They were down by 8 in the second half. Nobody got past 8, and there was never a double-digit lead by anybody in this game. Afterwards, Jaylen Brown also post-game being named the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. He had 29.6 rebounds and 2 assists in this one.
Jaylen, just what's it mean to you to be holding that trophy right now?
All praise to the Most High. We was in this building not too long ago. We was getting boos. Thankful to God to be here. Appreciate everything, man. Let's get some more.
Playoff game of this postseason, just hearing you guys saying we're back. Just what has the wait been like? The off season, this season, the regular season. What's the wait, the work been like to get back here, going to the NBA Finals?
It's been nothing but a grind. We haven't skipped no steps all season. We got a bunch of great guys in this locker room, bunch of tough guys. Our coaching staff has been great. Front office has been great. And now we want to take it to the next step.
Thank you, Jaylen. Congratulations to you.
All right, thanks to ESPN for that last night as well. And Angel, I see you have the Rick Carlisle video up, which is great because that was the next one that I really wanted to play. Maybe we'll play this one right now going into break. Rick Carlisle, teammate of Bill Walton's back in for a couple of years, 86, 87. And he gives praise to Bill Walton for setting him up, which is now his wife, Donna. We could run that one, Angel. Thank you.
I have him to thank probably also for me being married to my wife, Donna. Our first date was to a Dead show in Washington, D.C., and I called Bill, and I said, look, this is 1987. I got a date with a girl that I think is pretty cool. I'd love to go to the Dead show at Capitol Center. I don't have any tickets. Can you help? And he said, just go to the back door, ask for Dennis McAnally, tell him you're Rick Carlisle from the Boston Celtics, and everything will be just fine. I said, really? And he said, oh, yeah. So I drove up to the loading dock. And so Donna was with me. We hadn't known each other that long. And I said, just wait here a second. She's like, what? She said, do you have tickets? I said, just give me a couple minutes here. And so I walked down and I knocked on the door. The whole thing ended up working out. I walked back up the loading dock ramp with 2 all-access laminates. One said Bill Walton and one said Susie Walton. And so we were set up for the show, and we were actually on stage watching the show. And during the break, we just kind of wandered into the back and just opened up a door and ended up sitting down with Jerry Garcia, Bob Weir, and Mickey Hart for about 15 minutes, just shooting the shit. I mean, it was an unbelievable night, and obviously it's a good first date.
Yeah, there's Indiana Pacers coach Rick Carlisle and another wonderful Bill Walton story. And, of course, it involved the Grateful Dead. Of course it did. All right, Angel, let's take our first break. if we may. The phone number, 727-858-6650. I've got more Celtics highlights over the Pacers from last night and more great video as we honor the now late, great Bill Walton, one of the greatest people I've ever had the pleasure of meeting in my life from an athletics point of view. Just a super guy with a zest for life, and there was no BS in him at all. He was the real deal. He just woke up every morning, like he said, and just tried to do the best he could every single day. A lesson that we should all learn from him. Believe me, the way he lived his life. So follow us on all the Riptide Media Network video platform. Follow me at pshep326 on Twitter, X, on my Facebook and Broad Street South Facebook and YouTube pages, Rumble, LinkedIn, Spotify, Twitch. It is Pete Sheppard Show here until 10 a.m. More Bill Walton funny videos from the past and some more highlights from the wild weekend in sports, including the Celtics. Moving on to the NBA Finals. Once again, we'll preview the Western Conference tonight. Can the Minnesota Timberwolves stay alive? They're down 3-0. Stanley Cup playoff highlights too. Big comeback from Dallas last night. They were down last night 3-0 to Edmonton. Came back and won 5-3. They take its 2-1 series lead there. So we'll get to all of that, some MLB stuff, some NFL stuff, and a lot more. Part of the Pete Sheppard Show here on a Tuesday, right here on the Riptide Media Network.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class, let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home.
Wow. Awesome. Where were you, Jill?
Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Welcome back. It is the Pete Sheppard Show here on a Tuesday. How's everybody doing today? I'm live from the Naples Flow Planning Studio here on the Riptide Media Network. 727-858-6650. That is the number to call. Watch us all over the place on the Riptide Media video platform on Twitter, X. Follow me at PShep326. My Facebook and Broad Street South Facebook and YouTube pages. LinkedIn, Rumble, Spotify, Twitch. Always Monday through Friday unless there's a holiday from 7 to 10 a.m. Angel Martinez, exec producer in the house as well, doing an unbelievable job. We have a little glitch today where I cannot hear him. But you're sending me funny texts. Yes. Glad you're okay. So, yes, Angel on the other side of the glass. Everything, all the videos he's playing, you can hear him fine. I cannot. I can hear some stuff that I play, but we're going to get through it because there's too much great stuff here. So the Celtics win 105-102 over Indiana. We're still talking about that, and we're going to keep doing a tribute to Bill Walton as well. Patrick Gilroy at 9:05 a.m., my NBA insider. He is awesome. And Mick Colagio at 9:30, my awesome NHL insider. Those are my two guests today, but I wanted to pay homage to Bill Walton, one of the most dynamic people I've ever met in my life. So the Celtics win last night. We'll get to more highlights we'll get to more Bill Walton video in a second. After the game, head coach Joe Mazzulla for the Celtics compared the Pacers to the media.
You guys have done a great job just winning games many different ways. And so got good practice executing, and I was going to continue it.
You guys held them scoreless for the final 3:32. Jalen had the huge block on Nembhard near the end. What did you see in terms of defensive execution and limiting them to one shot?
Again, this team is very similar to you guys, where like they create a lot of noise, and you have to decipher what's true and like what shots you're going to willing to live with and which ones you're going to take away. And so like it was really hard throughout the game because I felt like we were making them take tough shots, and the guys just stuck with it and did a great job taking tendencies. Did a good bet, just upped our ball pressure and our individual defense, and we got stops home to a 19-point quarter.
Yep. After the game, head coach Rick Carlisle from the Indiana Pacers thanks his players and says a lot to look forward to next year.
I don't really know where to start, but first I want to just tell you that we thanked our players a few moments ago for an amazing season, a magical season. The level of fight was just tremendous all the way through this. Circumstance never fazed them one way or the other. They were in this to win every possession that they could and any game that they could. And so a lot of respect to our players and just how they conducted themselves in this series. So, it's there were a lot of things accomplished this year, and certainly expectations will be raised for next year.
All right, there it is. Rick Carlisle, head coach of the Indiana Pacers. Can't say enough about Jaylen Brown. The Celtics just, both ends of the floor were needed. How about Jaylen Brown's block at the end of the game? Drew Holiday with steals and blocks all over the place. Celtics really tightening up on defense. Of course, Jaylen made the go-ahead three with 43 seconds left in the game. Derek White stuff, Derek White, these guys all do stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. Just 16 points and made just 1 of 8 of threes, but then had a huge one from the corner. That's the thing. This team does not need Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum to score 40 points every night. They're so well balanced. They can beat you in so many ways. It's not like other teams where they don't get big buckets out of their superstars every single night or a bunch of points out of their every single night. They can't win. The Celtics get big buckets from their big guys all the time in this postseason. They've been outstanding when they go. I mean, they've lost 2 games in the postseason. You know, they've lost 2 games. They're 12-2. It's not bad. Not bad for anybody thus far. Now they got 4 more to go. Still chasing the 18th NBA title. The Mavericks have a 3-game lead in the best of 7 Western Conference Finals. I don't know what's going on with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I picked them to win in 7, but they seem to be one of those teams that's a year away. They're a year away. And some of the comments I've heard, I know bothered Shaq and Anthony Edwards and some of the stuff. Even from Karl Anthony Towns, I don't know. I'm wondering how it's kind of like, we'll be back next year, blah, blah, blah. The Mavericks scored 14 of the final 17 points the other night for the 116-107 win over Dallas. And there were just some comments after the game that that sound a little bit upset. I know Edwards, who by the way, this week, Anthony Edwards no longer the face of the league. Last week, face of the league. This week, now that they're down 3-0, and he's been struggling a lot in this series. You know, he's a great player. He's going to end up being one of the great players. He already is one of the best players in the NBA. But this team isn't ready yet. Obviously, they're not ready yet. You can't be down 3-0. And as we know, now it's teams down 3-0 in the postseason after the Celtics won last night. 0 for 155. 0 for 155. So I think Dallas closes out tonight at home. Why they're only a 1.5-point favorite, I don't know, but I'd say jump all over it. Minnesota, by the way, has trailed 3-0 in a best of 7 just one time previously in their history. They forced the Nuggets to a 5th game last year in the first round by winning 114-108 at home in Game 4. But this time they're on the road in Dallas, and I think I don't think they're going to get it done. They'll put up a fight initially, but in the end, they won't get it done. All right, Angel, let's go back to. Well, actually, no. Let me play one more cut from here. Let's see. From the Pacers and the Celtics last night. Drew Holiday postgame on the stars of the team and the role players.
Just kind of your feeling as a team as you're trying to gear up now for a week from Thursday.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm there yet. Still kind of excited about the win, and I mean, you see the merch. Just really excited that we did this as a team, and it wasn't just one person or a couple people. We know when KP went down, people would have to step up, and everybody did, from Jason and JB all the way down to, O'Shea, who got in and played great minutes. So great team effort. The coaching staff did great in preparing us for this whole series and making adjustments on the fly and all that. So it's been really excited to get this win.
Yep, Drew Holiday, outstanding. We'll have more highlights and more reaction from both the Pacers and the Celtics a little bit later on as the show progresses. But want to get back to continuing our tribute to Bill Walton. And this time, Angel, if we could scroll down to Chris Vanini from The Athletic. And this is Frank. It's a little ways out. Frank Caliendo doing Bill Walton with Bill Walton. It was great. Dave Pasha. It was the Arizona State Oregon game. I want to say it was last year. It could have been the year before, but I think this was last year. And this is extremely entertaining. Those of you hopefully watching on the video, if you're on the app on Sports Radio 102.9, you'll be able to, you'll know which is Bill and which, although Frank does a great job, as he usually does. And, we had talked to Frank at the Super Bowl out in Vegas not too long ago. And he was also in studio with our show back in the day. Very, very funny guy. Obviously, a great impressionist. Unbelievable. Okay, here's Frank Caliendo doing Bill Walton with Bill Walton and Dave Pasch.
Bill Walton is here, along with Bill Walton.
How great is this? Enjoying ourselves, enjoying the energy happening here inside the arena, outside, the beautiful, the landscape that is Arizona, but inside, how loud can it? The look on your face, Bill, is that of utter frustration.
Finally, some inspiration. The negativity that I have to fight every single moment. And now someone here who can shine the light. Someone who can appreciate the beauty of a saguaro. Somebody who knows about the grandeur of the Sonoran Desert. Somebody who knows that rivers can flow uphill.
You never know when to talk when he's going, do you? You never know when there's going to be a break. He continues to go the entire time in the three. What was that three? I wasn't even looking. I wasn't paying attention to the game.
I wasn't either.
Frank.
It was a two by Alonzo Verge. Bill Walton.
That's great stuff. Frank Caliendo doing Bill Walton with David Pasch. Some real good stuff. Your reaction, again, I'd love to hear from you. 727-858-6650. Bill Walton passing away yesterday at the age of 71. And I did not know he was battling cancer. And this guy, if you don't know a lot about him, for some of you millennials out there, he would have gone down had he not had such horrible foot injuries over the years and back injuries, hurting as well. He was going to go down as arguably the best big man in the history of the game. That is, and I'm not saying that lightly. Most people will tell you that. Still remember him going 21 out of 22 in the finals for UCLA. I think we won the second out. 21 out of 22 from the field he went in one game of the championship. Dave Pasch, more from Dave Pasch. I'm just going to play the sound from here about how generous he was. Let me see. Yeah, this is Dave Pasch on Bill Walton about how generous he was.
You know, Malika, I just remember countless people from every generation, all shapes and sizes, coming up to Bill, sometimes in the middle of the game, but many before the game or after the game, and he would always take time for them. He spent sometimes an hour plus after the game signing autographs, taking pictures. There'd be a huge line of people, and Bill would take time for every one of them. And again, I think that speaks to his generosity, his kindness, his humility, his love for people. And, he never wore a hat. He was easy to spot anyway. But, if he was at an airport, he didn't wear a hat, so he wasn't trying to hide. And everybody would come up to him and talk to him, and he had time for everybody. That's just who Bill was. And, if you came in contact with Bill, I can't tell you how many calls and texts I've gotten from people today that had a story about Bill and how he made them feel good. And I think Bill... knowing that a lot of us are smiling today, thinking about Bill, that would make Bill very, very happy because he loved to laugh and smile. And again, I think it made Bill smile even brighter to know that he was making you laugh and smile.
No question about it. And I know there's another clip there. I mean, we've heard Bill many times say, I don't want to be remembered. He was not about himself. And he was about, he loved John Wooden. He would talk about John Wooden, how much he meant to him, that great legendary coach at UCLA. And he would talk about his Portland Trailblazers team, but if it wasn't John Wooden, he was talking about the Celtics most of the time when he was talking about basketball. And you would have thought he played for Boston for 30 years. It was just a couple of years, and he was hurt for half of it. But man, when he was in the lineup, he was outstanding. We'll get to more videos from Bill coming up in just a second here as well. I want to move on quickly. We'll get back to the Celtics reaction and Indiana Pacer reaction after the Celtics finished off the 4-game sweep last night back to the NBA Finals for the 23rd time in their storied history. Dude, before we get to Stanley Cup highlights, a couple of things that you might not know. I know we have a lot of lacrosse fans out there. And congratulations to Boston College, the women who seem to be in the finals every single year. What a match it was. I watched a lot of it the other day. They beat Northwestern 14-13, and then Notre Dame won 15-5 yesterday in the men's final over Maryland. And Chris Kavanaugh had 5 goals for the Irish. His brother had 6 assists. Combined 11. So between the two of them combined 11. So just a little minor thing, but always on Memorial Day weekend do they have the men and women's lacrosse final. So congratulations to Boston College on another national title for them, and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish for, I think that's back-to-back for them. Meanwhile, last night and the Stanley Cup playoff, just one game going on. Connor McDavid in the first period put the Oilers up by 2.
Now Hyman carries it deep, defended by Tanev. Hyman leaving it for Ekholm. Ekholm comes around, throws in front.
You got Ekholm, the defenseman, jumping in. You got strength in numbers. People going into that. There's the interchange. Ekholm gets a step on hits, and then he just throws it to the front of the net.
And we continue in the second period. It was 2-0 Edmonton. Looked like they were going to, win this one in a rout. But the Stanley Cup playoffs this year, you don't count anybody out at any time. Dallas scores in the second period.
Hits on the ice here, unable to play the bouncing puck. Now he does, keeps it into the line. Finds Sagan. Back out for Robertson. There's Hintz. Turn to the lineup today, and they score! Hintz with the setup, Robertson the finish. That's his first goal in 11 games, and the Stars have pulled to within 1.
Yeah, they have. So that made it 2-1. And then, let me see, they actually tied the game at 2. And here's how they took the lead.
Twice in the first 8 minutes of the first period. Out the pass from Robertson. Sagan was taken down by Ekholm. Robertson with it again. Shoots. Knocked down by Skinner. Puck is loose. Flip towards the net. They score! Robertson again! Jason Robertson has scored twice after going 10 games without a goal. Good hustle by Jamie Benn looking for Stankoven. Score! Wyatt Johnston! Third goal of the period for the Stars. And they take the lead for the first time tonight. It is now 3-2 Dallas.
Again, thanks to TNT. The Oilers did tie the game at 3, but it was Jason Robertson once again with the hat trick.
Sagan with Hintz. Rope Hintz back around for Tyler Sagan. Hintz lets it go through. Robertson does as well. And then Lindell breaks the stick on the shot attempt. Kept alive by the Stars. Here's Robertson, looks to bank it in. He scores! A hat trick and a 4-3 lead for the Dallas Stars.
And the final call.
And his team responded for him. I was going to say, Ekholm thought he had the tying goal 2 nights ago with about 4 minutes to go off the knob of the goal stick of Ottinger. And this one is in the books. The Oilers scored 2 in the first 7:37 of the game, but Dallas roars back. And they take game 3 on the road, led by a hat trick from Jason Robertson.
Yeah, thanks to Sportsnet and TNT. Jason Robertson after the game on the hat trick.
Jason, another night that I'm sure you didn't love your first period, so how did you go about turning the tide?
Yeah, I mean, going down early, our response was fantastic. Unfortunately, we don't want to get in that spot, but everyone in that locker room bought in, and we started to play our game, and we know that works.
For yourself, last 10 games, 8 assists, but no goals. I just wonder, what were you thinking? What were you feeling coming in tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't know, I got the first one, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to shoot everything. So it's one of those things, you just gain confidence, but, it's just a big character win from all of us.
So I wonder now the mindset of a shooter for yourself, the third goal. Like, it seemed like from that angle, there was no daylight. So how did you go about making space?
It's a lot of work with our goalies in practice. We learn stuff. I mean, I can credit my goalie coach on that one. So, but I mean, I don't know, I'm just making a play out there. I don't know if I would have done that if I didn't score 2 goals. So,
All right, I'm sure you'll take it. So, lastly, the return of Rupe Hintz. What did that mean to you and the group?
yeah, I think you can just see it. You know, I think everyone notices his presence on the ice. You know when he's on the ice. You can see that speed, and it's just a fantastic job coming in ice cold. You know, almost 2 weeks off. So, he's a big part of our team, and obviously it showed tonight.
Jason, congrats. Thanks for the time.
Yeah, thanks.
You know, Angel, I played hockey for time. I was 6 till I was about 16, some 9.5, 10 years, whatever. Of course, always a threat on the second line in the West Warwick House League myself. I had 1 hat trick in my life. 1. We also lost the game 7-5. I think I was about 11 years old. So, hat trick and we lose. That was a story of my youth playing mediocre hockey, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Meanwhile, after the game, also Connor McDavid, rough second period for the Oilers.
Had a really good start, and then just kind of reminiscent of the second period from last game.
Yeah, but probably a little worse. I thought, real good start, obviously, and then, I'm not sure where those 10, 15 minutes come from, but it's as bad as it's been throughout the playoffs. Obviously give them a chance to get back in the game, and, will we come back tied after 2 and just don't run away.
Stars lead the series now. After winning 5-3 last night, they lead the series 2-1. Tonight, the New York Rangers are at the Florida Panthers once again at sunrise, with the Rangers leading that one 2-1. A very high-scoring game the other day, 5-4, after a very low-scoring game in Game 1. 5-4 Rangers win in overtime in Game 2. Game 3, I should say. They lead 2-1. Paul Maurice had some interesting comments about keeping the growl, and he explained what that meant yesterday.
It wouldn't necessarily be a manifestation of that growl and that we need to hit more. I mean, we're physical enough. There wasn't that. We spent a lot of time in there, and, we need to be able to get to the net. Sometimes you're just looking for a certain attitude. That's all. Just come to the net and we'll flush that one. Why would we flush that one? We put up 108, gave up 44. Where can we get better? Where can we turn that into a win? So coming to the rink today, determined to find answers, to deal exactly with the whole thing, to take a look at it, say, all right, make us better, make us a half inch better, an inch better for tomorrow night's game. That's kind of what the coach's job is. Make them walk out of the room certain, right? This is how we're playing tomorrow. It's like growl, just there's nothing casual. I'm light and easy with all of you, and why wouldn't I be? None of you have played poorly yesterday. I haven't really read much of what you read, so don't take that personally either. It's a time thing. But we would be wired and ready to go in that room. The intensity level will be pretty high. I just want to make sure it's certain when they come to the rink about what we're doing.
I love Paul Maurice. Absolutely love him. Sam Bennett, Bruins fans, on getting more bodies to the net and still being in the game plan.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have to get more pucks on net. They've done a great job of blocking a lot of pucks, but we can still do a better job of getting more traffic to the net, more of our bodies to the net, and then it's just a matter of bearing down on opportunities after that.
And other news in that series, Jakob Trouba fined $5,000 for elbowing Ivan Rodriguez the other day. $5,000, please. Please. Enough of that. All right. 727-858-6650. That is the number to text or call. 727-858-6650. Quick break. Hour number 2 is going to begin at 9 o'clock. And hour number 3, Patrick Gilroy, NBA Insider, will join me at 9:05. Bottom of the hour of the 9 o'clock hour, Michelangelo. We'll talk more Stanley Cup playoff with him at 9:30. And coming up next hour, once again, back to the video as I continue to honor the man, the legend that is Bill Walton, one of the most dynamic individuals and somebody with such a zest for life. Just amazing. Absolutely amazing. We'll have more stuff, more video that you may or may not have seen with Bill Walton, and we'll play it right here on the Pete Sheppard Show. It's all part of the Pete Sheppard Show here until 10 a.m. live from the Naples Wealth Planning Studio right here on the Riptide Media Network.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, groan-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have anybody to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. No, you won't. Because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing. But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Yeah. You feel it, baby?
Back here, it's hour number 2, the Pete Sheppard Show, live from the Naples Wealth Planning Studio, Riptide Media Network. How's everybody doing today? Hope you had a great and I hope you had a nice Memorial Day weekend in memory of all the great soldiers from all factions of the military. We honor them yesterday. Again, the phone number 727-858-6650. Apologize, cannot hear Angel Martinez on the other side. Everything he plays and the videos, you can all hear that. We're just having a little technical issue today, but I just want to clear that up. And I'm actually going to postpone Martinez and company one more day until we get this straightened out. Oh, my buddy Tim, what a surprise. If the Celtics play like that against the Mavericks, they will lose. I'm not sure what that means. What does that mean? Not play suffocating defense in the end, not block shots, not win in the clutch. I mean, every single series, Tim, is its own. Every game is going to be its own separate entity. They're the best team in the league. They're the deepest team in the league. That's why they will win. And when they get Porzingis back, it's going to, just another dynamic element that they have. The series with Dallas, and I think Dallas will win tonight, and I think they will cover. It's going to probably be a 6 games, at least 6 games. Maybe 7. I go back again. I don't know how often I have to say this. I don't know why certain teams have to win by a certain amount of points unless you're betting. A 4-game sweep is a 4-game sweep. I can go back to the history of the NBA, and I'll just go back to the late 70s, 80s, and 90s. Lots of great teams out there. Angel had lots of great teams. The 76ers. Lots of great Celtics teams. Lots of great Laker teams. They don't all win it every single year, and nor did they go undefeated in the playoffs. And maybe Magic had one of the great games of all time in '80 when he played center. He played in that series. He played all 5 positions. I mean, it's great team's a great team. This is a great team. This Celtics team is a great team, one of the best I've ever seen. So don't you worry, Tim. They're gonna be fine. You worry about your Cowboys, who are going to take a gigantic step back this year. Gigantic, Tim. Got gigantic. Yes, Rocco says Dallas cover. Yeah, I think Dallas covers. I do. Tim says Mavs, Stars, and Cowboys. Yeah, well, hey, the Dallas Stars. I mean, they're the real deal. That's a hell of a win they had last night. I had that on my phone watching that, and I pretty much stayed up and watched that whole game. That was phenomenal. Robertson with a hat trick. Dallas Stars are the real deal. I picked Edmonton at 7. I picked Edmonton from the get-go to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. But Dallas is certainly that's a great comeback win on the road last night. There's no question about it. 727-858-6650. Watch the show on Twitter X. Follow me at PShep326. My Facebook and Broad Street South Facebook and YouTube pages, Rumbo, LinkedIn, Spotify, Twitch, all over the place. Meanwhile, let's get back to some more Bill Walton tribute here on the Pete Sheppard Show. And Angel, if I may have you, actually, this is a great one. It's the first one down underneath the show, and it's from Honest Larry's. Just so you know, Bill Walton hates second-string guards. This is while he was doing the game once again with Dave Posh, a Pac-12 game, UCLA and BYU, and he talks about a little incident he had with his then teammate, Danny Ainge. This is funny stuff. Here's Bill in a nutshell.
I first met Danny. He was in high school, North Eugene High School in Eugene, Oregon. I was playing for the Trailblazers. He was already playing with us. He was a high school All-America in 3 sports, football, basketball, and baseball. I've never known anybody to do that. He started playing with us professionals. We were the champions, and he was joining us in our out-of-season workouts, and he was fantastic as a high school player. And then we became teammates. And one day, he was messing with me in practice because I was struggling physically, and I was having trouble getting up and down the court. But I had the groove, because the big man always has the groove right down the middle of the court. And so he kept getting in my way, and one time, after telling him numerous times to stop, I leveled him. And he jumped up and he got in my face for leveling him. And I looked at him and I said, hey man, that's my space, that's my lane. And so Jerry Seasting, who was my teammate, came over to defend Danny Ainge. And I looked at both of them and I pointed to Danny and I said, hey, the only thing I hate more than a guard, and then I turned to Jerry Seasting and I said, is a second-string guard. And then I walked away and said, let's play ball.
I was wondering where that 2-minute long story was going, but you hit the payoff. Well done.
Another great anecdote right there from Bill Walton, and Danny was just such a great ball player. And I remember as a kid when I first saw him play, I saw him one time in college, and that was in person live in the NCAA tournament, BYU. As I watched him score close to 40 points, which is either 35 or 40 points, almost single-handedly beat UCLA at the Providence Civic Center back then, and. The only reason I knew who he was is because he played second base for the Toronto Blue Jays back then. He could play professional baseball, he could play a professional sport. And he was a utility player for the Toronto Blue Jays, not a great hitter, pretty decent fielder. He played second and third base for the Blue Jays. I turned to my father, I go, isn't that the guy from the Blue Jays? Yep, that is. He's great. And that was, remember, the first time I really paid attention to Danny Ainge, where he was just outstanding. Outstanding basketball player, and he was a pain in the ass to everybody. He was a jokester. Besides, he had a great relationship with Bill, but Danny and Kevin McHale will go at it all the time, kiddingly, but in practice. And you never know. Sometimes back in those days, that Danny went to BYU and had Mormon, alleged Mormon values. Whatever that is. I think professional sports, it kind of goes out the door. Like I said, I always try to picture Jim McMahon following him around campus at BYU when he was there. Had to be really interesting. Anyway, good stuff there. We'll have more from Bill Walton, some more video coming up a little bit later on as well. Meanwhile, back to last night. The Celtics finishing off the Indiana Pacers, 105-102. They sweep the series 4-0. Let's see. Let's hear from Jason Tatum and talking about drawing the defensive line. Drew Holiday wide open. No, that was a highlight. We don't need to see that. Jason Tatum on Jaylen Brown winning the Eastern Finals Conference MVP.
Jason, your reaction when Jaylen Brown's name was called? He seemed surprised. Everybody seemed very excited for him. What was that moment like for him?
No, that was special. Big time to be rewarded for how you play, and that's a special accomplishment for him and for everybody.
And obviously, going back to the finals, special accomplishment for you guys. Is there a difference? Is it kind of like the same type of emotions? What's that like for you?
It's special, right? Even though we've been there before, most of us have. You don't take it for granted, right? We were excited. It was a hell of a team we just played. They made us earn every single game, and we're extremely grateful to move on to the finals.
Yeah, and that's the thing I think other people forget sometimes too, is that, okay, Halliburton didn't play, I get it, but there's other professionals on that team. And that's what you do. It's not supposed to be easy. I don't care at this level, at this time in the postseason, I don't care who you play. It's not supposed to be easy. We see it all the time in football. Teams overcoming injuries and moving on, winning games that people thought they weren't going to win because this player didn't play or that player didn't play. It's sports that happen. These guys are all professionals. And, to me personally, this taught me a lot about this team, this last series, because they had a hard time during the regular season because they killed people so badly. They crushed people. In a lot of games, close, tight and close, like in the last couple of minutes, those are the ones they were losing in the regular season. So, not that they're going to flip a switch. You don't want to get down by 18, but look at the whole league. Look at the whole postseason. I think Jason Tatum said it the other night. 18-point leads are not safe anymore in the NBA. It's not just the Celtic-Indiana game. Go back and look at the Mavericks, and go back and look at Minnesota, Denver. Denver was down by 53 at home. 53. They didn't come back and win, but they were down by 53 at home. So, look, it's not supposed to be easy. It's never going to be easy. You don't expect anybody. 4-game sweeps are sort of rare, but there's never been any team that's come back from 0-3. Now 0-155. Continuing on with Jason Tatum, says this team has learned a lot from the last time they were in the finals.
Jason, obviously, there's obviously a lot that's happened since you guys were last in this position a couple of years ago. As a group, for you and Jalen, the guys who've been here, like what is different about you guys specifically in terms of growth over the last couple of years, and how do you think that will help you get the 4 wins you're looking for over the next few weeks?
Learning from our experience, right? That playoff run was a lot of up and downs. Obviously we fell short of the ultimate goal last year, lost in the conference finals. So I think, we've just applied everything that we've learned to this season, this postseason, and it's been working really well.
Yeah, absolutely. And you have to learn what happened last postseason. You're going to have to learn what happened 3 years ago when they were up 2-1 on Golden State before, giving it up the last three. And a lot of that was due to a lot of horrific turnovers, which we have not seen that for the most part this year with the Celtics team. And certainly the growth of Coach Mazzulla as well. I think he's done a great job this year, like I said, surrounding himself with guys like Sam Cassell and other great assistant coaches. He has come a long way from last year as far as knowing when to call timeouts and this, that. And he's the youngest coach to make it to the NBA Finals since Bill Russell, back in 1968 or 69. Youngest coach. And I know this is a very talented team, obviously. I think it's one of the most talented Celtics teams I've ever seen in my lifetime. But nevertheless, to have a coach that young of an age, I'm proud to say he went to my high school as well. That's fantastic. More honoring a tribute to Bill Walton today. David Posh, his longtime broadcast partner. He had this to say about trying to get Bill refocused at times during some broadcasts.
How long do you have, Malika? We could be here a while. One of my earliest memories was you mentioned 2006. I used to bring that up to Bill, and he would say that never happened. We did not work together, but I do have proof. There was a game we were doing in Chicago then, and I was just happy at the time to be doing NBA and sitting next to Bill Walton. I'd grown up watching Bill go at it with Snapper Jones on NBC, and LeBron James took his headband off and tossed it towards the scorer's table, and Bill starts going off that it's a technical foul, and I'm just kind of letting him go, and I didn't break it up. And Mike Tirico called me the next day and said, you have to stop him. That's your job. So I kind of filed that away, and then when they paired us together on the Pac-12 games when we got the contract, I just kind of remembered that. And so that was a big part of our on-air relationship, was me cutting him off and redirecting him and trying to get it back to the game. Sometimes that was successful, sometimes it wasn't. But the bottom line was with Bill, he was always having fun. He loved to smile and laugh. And if he got you to smile and laugh, he was a happy guy. And most times that I worked with Bill, I left in pain from the laughter, which often lasted days, because I would sit there at night sometimes just thinking about some of the crazy stuff he did, and most people probably couldn't get away with it. But when you're one of the greatest players of all time, the rules are a little bit different, and it was just one of the joys of being around Bill and watching him do his thing.
Absolutely. And here's more from Dave Pash on what Walton would say when the headset and mics were off.
I remember a conversation I had with his teammate with the Blazers, Lionel Hollins, and Lionel said, it brings the banter, the relationship that he and I had. Lionel thought that it kind of brought Bill back into the locker room. I mentioned that earlier. And Bill often would take the headset off and say, keep coming at me, don't stop. Or before the game, he'd say, no matter what I say or what I do, know that I love you, but don't tell anybody. He just loved, I think he wanted people to think that we were mortal enemies, because we were very different and saw the world very different ways, but, still had a great relationship and loved each other. But yeah, I think the advice of just keep coming at me. He brought me, I like to think he really helped my career, and that he brought me out, my personality. I think at Syracuse, you're conditioned to broadcast as a play-by-play announcer the game a certain way, which is a good thing. But I think, early in my career, I think I was just so focused on that. And then Bill comes along and you can't help but engage. And so, that, and Jim Gray said something to me early on, like, Bill will make you better. And he did. I certainly would not be where I am today in my career without Bill and his guidance, even if it was unintentional on his part. He certainly was a mentor in that way.
Again, Dave Posh, longtime broadcast partner on ESPN, doing a lot of Pac-12 stuff with Bill Walton. I'm going to do another video here. I just tweeted it out, Angel, from the NBA on ESPN. This is from early this morning with Tim Legler and Scott Van Pelt, reflecting on what it was like to work with Bill Walton. Much like what Dave Posh said, but these guys have their perspective as well. So this was earlier on Scott Van Pelt's show.
We're men of a certain age, which means that for a lot of our viewers that just know Bill is an incredibly entertaining broadcaster. You grew up watching the guy and then had him as a colleague here. And as someone who made his living playing the game, how do you sort of cook all of your experiences watching and then working with Bill into one sort of thought?
So two different areas in which I got to interact with him, right? One, as a player, first of all, just watching him growing up and just knowing what he was. I was a huge fan of those mid-'80s Celtics teams. I had no geographical reason to love those teams. I loved their style of play. I loved the way they passed the basketball. I loved the rivalry. I loved Larry Bird. A lot there. Bill Walton goes to that team. Think about this, Scott. He had the lowest scoring average in the history of the Sixth Man of the Year award. That shows you the impact he had with his defense, his passing, his leadership, his demeanor, his positivity, his energy, everything he brought to that team, because it wasn't really numbers-based.
Sure.
It was about so many other things. So as a player, yes, one of the great bigs of all time, one of the great passers. But as a colleague, this is what got me. When first time I met him, he walks in the green room, I see Bill Walton. I couldn't even believe I was going to do a show with Bill Walton. We have a rundown ready to go. We're going to break down the show. As you know, rundowns work. It was out the window as soon as the show started when they asked Bill one question.
All right, real quick. Here's a rundown. All right, like you got the A block. All right, so the A's are. It's a suggestion. All right, and then you got run times in here. 3 minutes. 3 minutes ish. Yeah. 3 minutes for Bill is an opening segment. Like that's an opening thought to get to his topic.
And as he was going on this 4 or 5 minute answer to a question at the start of the show, he's kind of looking over at us and like winking a little bit, like this is fun. Look what I'm doing to the producers right now. I'm blowing this thing up because I'm going to bring so much energy and life to what we are doing right now. And that really, to me, is what represents what Bill Walton represented more than anything else.
We have this goofy thing that we hit when something goes wrong, and we say,
"What's your budget on this show?"
Here's another one we have. Like you try to convince yourself that we got to work with Bill Walton. He said this.
Scott Van Pelt, my hero. What a show you've got.
I doubt Bill ever saw the show, but he said that, and we'll have it forever. He was on the show, and he hijacked it talking about Bears. That's what happened.
If he had said that about me, I think that would be like the voice you hear in my answering machine on my cell phone, like for eternity. Like
right?
That's just phenomenal.
All right, there it is again. I apologize for a little mini delays. I'm having problems hearing on Angel's end, so I have to go to the app once we play stuff. But only a few seconds delay. Rocco says that the Seas have the paint defense for the lobs against Lively and Gafford. Yeah, I think they do, with especially with Porzingis in there. Have you seen the other big man down low, Spittle, Hauser, Cornette? They got a lot of guys. I'm not saying you're going to hold them to zeros or anything like that, but with Porzingis in there, Porzingis changes everything. Al is a great player, what he's been doing, 18th year in the league, whatever it is. When Porzingis comes back, and I believe he'll be back at least for game one, and hopefully he stays healthy, a whole new ball game. Just adds a whole nother dimension to the Celtics' already great defense. And the Mavericks and Timberwolves also have two really good defenses, although sometimes you wouldn't know it in this series. The Celtics doing what they did defensively to hold the highest scoring team in the league to well below their average in these 4 games for the most part, by 10, 11, 12, 13 points below. They averaged 123.3 points per game in the regular season. So I think overall, some suffocating defense by the Celtics. Blocking, Jaylen Brown and Derek White. I love good defensive basketball, and they have played so well defensively, and that's why that's the reason why they won in the close and late, which they did not have a lot of success of in the regular season, despite winning all those games this year, 64 games. Close and late, they had issues, and I understand why people were going to bring them up heading into the postseason. There's like three storylines. First, they're damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they don't win the championship, they suck. If they get there, they're supposed to get there. If they, and then you had, Jimmy Butler didn't play, Donovan Mitchell didn't play the last couple of games, and Halliburton didn't play. But does anybody really think that any of those teams are going to beat the Celtics in the series? I'm tired of the narrative saying they get. Zach Lowe was saying it this morning. I won't even play it. What he said earlier today on ESPN. I mean, about teams getting free passes and everything else. Just laziness. It's just laziness. I don't know why this team is they're so talented. It's because they're one of the best teams. They are the best team in the NBA this year, and I think it's one of the best Celtics teams I've ever seen in my lifetime. But I still don't expect. I mean, I didn't expect the '86 Celtics or the 76ers in the early '80s, or the Celtics then, or the Lakers then, to win by a gazillion points. I told you. I saw Memorial Day in 1985. The Celtics beat the Lakers by 40 plus and lost the series. So, I mean, look, it's supposed to be hard. It's supposed to be difficult. I don't care who's in the lineup. It's supposed to be difficult. You got to give the Pacers credit to the way they played, minus arguably their best player. I get it. Same thing with the Cavaliers. They didn't go down quietly either. I don't expect them to. I don't expect teams in the NBA or especially in the Stanley Cup. I don't care who's playing or who's not playing. You are professional. You're going to play hard. There's no free passes. So I take nothing for granted. All I know is my team got there in 4. That's all I care about. They earned it. They made the plays and the blocks and the defense and the shots when they had to be made. When the game was on the line, which they did not do a lot of in the regular season, as I said. So, in the words of Norman Dale, head coach of the Hickory team back in Hoosiers, I apologize for nothing. I was hired to teach the boys a game of basketball, and I did that to the best of my ability. I apologize for nothing. There you go. Dallas is going to be seeking their sweep of the Wolves' first finals trip in 13 years. I do think they will get it done tonight. I do think they get it done tonight. Rocco had mentioned Gafford, who's been amazing since he was acquired in February from the horrific Washington Wizards. And him and Derek Lively, the second, because he left. We had a neck injury last game in the third quarter. Gafford played 29 minutes, a career high for him, and was awesome down the stretch. Talk about awesome down the stretch, like some of the Celtics. Gafford was awesome down the stretch. He blocked that Mike Conley's layup with about a minute to go, and then he had the alley-oop from Doncic. 22 seconds later, that clinched the win. Still, I mean, those are the kind of people who may not have stayed up to see that don't realize who this guy is. Yeah, these are good players. These are good players. 29 minutes came in off the bench. So the fact that they don't start this thing until a week from Thursday, plenty of time. Now, do I hope Minnesota wins tonight? Yeah, I want the Minnesota Dallas series to go as long as possible. But from a Celtics viewpoint, it's great having the time off. Get Porzingis ready to go. And if that was a Game 7 last night, he would have played. He probably would have played. But there was no reason to even chance it at all. Even if the Celtics had lost last night, to put him in this series. It didn't make any sense because they were going to win it regardless. Even if it was going to be a gentleman's sweep, as it was in the first 2 against Miami and the Cleveland Cavaliers. 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650. The Rocco, the reverse question, what you asked, do you think the Mavericks have what it takes to stop Horford and Porzingis? That's the even bigger question. And that remains to be seen. We'll have to wait and see. But it works on both sides for that. Check us out on the video platform here on the Riptide Media Network. Follow me at Twitter, X at PShep326. My Facebook and Broad Street South, Facebook and YouTube pages, Rumble, LinkedIn, Spotify, Twitch. Here until 10 a.m. always from 7 to 10 a.m. here on the Pete Sheppard Show. We are live from the Naplesville Planning Studio. Quick break. It's always happening right here on the Riptide Media Network.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad. Thanks, sweetie.
So wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is the story of a very special woman. In a matter of seconds, she turned herself into a great mathematician or an entrepreneur. Her knowledge was limitless and still is. She could also make monsters disappear, especially those that lurked in the shadows under the bed. Once, this woman put back together a teenage girl's broken heart, which had been shattered in 1,000 pieces, just by giving her a bear hug. She masqueraded as a regular person at work, but as a superhero at home. Everyone knows her as Gabriella. I still call her Mom.
Your hero needs you now, and AARP is here to help. Find the care guides you need to help, complete with tips and resources at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Pete Sheppard Show continuing this morning here live from the Naples Wolf Planning Studio on the Riptide Media Network. 727-858-6650. That is the number to call. Don't forget to watch the show all over the place here on Twitter X. Follow me at PShep326 on my Facebook and Broad Street South Facebook and YouTube pages, Twitch, LinkedIn, Rumble, of course on Sports Radio 102.9. It's an awesome app anyway. Jason says, "Oh my God, people are clueless. If they play like that, they'll win." Of course, it's you got to understand the haters, and not that Tim's a hater. Tim's not a hater, but and he's a Maverick fan. Well, I don't know if Tim's a Maverick fan. I know Tim's a big Dallas Cowboy fan. You got enough to worry about there. I know Angel has some nice words to say about any Dallas Cowboys fan, but Tim's a loyal listener, good guy, and. But yeah, if the Celtics actually play like for most of the series and like they did in Game 2, yeah, they're just too deep. I've said it from the get-go. They are too deep. They don't have to play perfect every single night to win. A lot of other teams do. They don't. I think overall they've had pretty decent playoff series, the first three. I think overall it's been pretty good to go 12-2. And I'm sorry they didn't win by enough points for some of you, but, c'est la vie. Meanwhile, all these great cuts we have, and for the best articles and audio, there's only one source that provides everything you need 365 days a year to satisfy your sports crave. It's Total Sports Prep. The staff combs through the best articles and audio so you don't have to. Sports and non-sports kicker stories will leave you laughing all day long. To get your free trial of Total Sports Prep, you can contact them at info@sportsbroadcastingcoach.com. You see it on the screen there as well. That's info@sportsbroadcastingcoach.com. Total Sports Prep, the name says it all. Angel, if I may, as we continue to pay tribute to Bill Walton, if we could scroll down to the cut under the Frank Caliendo cut is another one. It's about it is some of his funniest clips from Degenerate George, right under the Frank Caliendo one. And Bill Walton, iconic sportscaster, clip of some of his funniest moments on the mic. If we could play that video for the audience, that would be outstanding. Thank you, kind sir. You're a gentleman and a scholar.
This is an excellent shirt, by the way. I've got one of those.
If this is your shirt.
That's my shirt.
Yeah, it is.
Whack, whack.
People doubted whether you actually drove to Temecula.
No, I went to Temecula and brought you some dirt.
Don't.
You do it like this. You get it.
No.
You sort of rub it on. You get it, and then you just sort of, okay, now I'm ready to go. It's National Popcorn Day, please. Party on. It's a wonderful day. It's Oregon. The sun was out. Come on.
I think with Brooks on the floor, his goggles came off.
He's getting up quicker than Nate Robinson did. Maybe I'll just strip down right here.
Bill is taking his shirt off. Isn't wearing deodorant, taking his shirt off.
It's Monofuku's Andu's birthday. Monofuku Andu. He's the inventor of the instant noodle. And thank you. I love my noodles. It doesn't get any better than this. I just got laid.
Oh, I love my chocolates.
I'm not a very good catcher. I'm much better at getting high than getting low. There it goes. There it goes.
Deep to left.
There it goes.
And gone.
It's gone. Oh, my gosh.
7-point lead right now.
Dusted off.
Have you kissed your ostrich today? That's what I want to know.
I brought you a special gift here. Now, this is not from the park. You can't do that. I brought this from my hotel room. This can be eaten. This can be burnt as fuel. This can be used as decoration in your house. Happy birthday. Happy birthday. Got a present for you here.
Oh, no.
These are very special and sacred plants.
This is another gift.
This is a gift. Just like that right here.
South Bend, Bill Walton has finally met his match, the Leprechaun.
I have found that mushrooms only help you. Anyway, this is a foam roller with a vibrator inside, so it's fantastic. And it's got multi-speeds on it. This is called a Glockenspiel, okay? Made famous. German name.
You broke it.
No, I didn't break it. It comes apart like that.
Oh my God! I mean, you just watch that all day long. Just some great stuff from Bill Walton over the years, and there's, I mean, there's more as well. We'll get to it as time goes on. 727-858-6650, 727-858-6650 to call or text. You guys have been great on the text line today. Again, I apologize for not being able to hear Angel Martinez. Let me see if any of these texts will come to fruition. Oh, Jerry. Hello, Angel. I know you're in there. Pete, this is one heck of a show. Bill was one of a kind. Love watching him in Boston when he was on the court, no matter what great players were on the court. Thanks. Yes, absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Yes, Angel is there. Hello. He's there. Angel, I'm going to fist bump you. Fist bump me on through the T. Boom. Like the Wonder Twins. In fact, you can be, Jerry says, demeanor of the game changed. Immediately, Bird knew he had someone that passed like him, and Dennis Johnson, things really got really fun to watch. No, absolutely. I said it. When he first came, I knew if he was healthy, that he was going to be, he was good. He was going to be fantastic. And when he won the championship with Portland, I remember watching, but I was only 10 years old. I didn't understand, the dynamics of the game. I had forgotten what a great passer that he was. But the first exhibition game they played, I think it was against Cleveland too, if I'm not mistaken. He was in there, Robert Parrish, Bill was still learning the quote unquote, the system, working with his new teammates and everything else. And he made a couple of passes in that game. I'm like, man. There's a dynamic that Robert Parrish couldn't do, and Robert was a great passer, but Bill was just a different kind of player. We're talking about Bill Walton, one of the all-time big men. He really is, and Robert Parrish is right up there as well. Talking about running the floor and playing defense and a game changer, blocking shots and making shots. The Chief was one of the best I've ever seen also. But Walton, when he was healthy, took it to an absolute different level. There's no question about it. Good stuff. Thanks for checking in, Jerry, as always. I wanted to... Here's one little NFL highlight real quick from the other night on Pat McAfee. Was on Monday Night Raw on USA Network. This was last night, I believe. Had a little analogy concerning Mark Davis.
Now, Strowman. A lot of people look at the size difference and think JD has no chance. Mark Davis is 70 years old and is expecting child with a 26-year-old. Anything is possible in this modern world.
Mark Davis, the new Charlie Chaplin, or the new, Groucho Marx. Somebody had a kid when they were like 70s. I think it was Charlie Chaplin had a kid when he was like 76 years old. Good Lord. Just crazy, crazy, crazy. All right, let's do a little bit of, let's try to do some baseball rundown here. Then we'll get back to the Celtics. Again, last night, in case you missed it, Celtics finish off the sweep of Indiana, winning 105-102. Jaylen Brown, Eastern Conference Finals MVP. 29.6 rebounds and 2 assists. He was awesome. Minnesota's at Dallas tonight, 8:30 on TNT. The Dallas Mavericks lead that series 3-0. Over in the Stanley Cup, Western Conference Finals, Dallas beat Edmonton 5-3. They were down 2-0, then exploded. Robertson with a hat trick there. Stars lead that series 2-1 tonight. New York Rangers at the Florida Panthers, 8 o'clock on ESPN. Rangers leading their 2-1 after their outstanding 5-4 overtime win a couple of days ago. Very high-scoring game. Unlike those two teams, but there were a lot of fantastic goals in that game. All right. Meanwhile, Major League Baseball rundown yesterday. First up, Milwaukee and the Chicago Cubs.
Contreras had 9 RBIs on the last road trip, 9 games. Hits that one hard. It's booted at third base by Magical on into left field. In to score is Frelick, and the Brewers have the lead here in the 8th.
Probably should have been a double play ball. Oh, what a turn that one took. If Magical fields it, it's a double play easily. He kicked it right up his glove, and the Brewers on the board.
Oh, boy. And you see these things all the time. It happens. You're supposed to get a double play. Instead, it's E5, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, a couple batters later.
Wisniewski deals at Thomas, center field. Bellinger on the run. He looks up. Goodbye! A 3-run blast. Willie Adames
4-0 Brewers. Fastball right down the middle. Look at that swing. Nice level swing. He knew it as soon as you make contact. Step behind the line, a three-pointer for Willie Adames.
His first ever homer on a 3-0 pitch.
How about that? Thanks to Bally Sports Wisconsin. Final score: Milwaukee 5, Cubs 1. Man, this was scoreless going into the bottom of the 8th inning. Toronto and the White Sox went at it yesterday as well.
And he lifts one to left field, and he's tagged it pretty well. And it is gone. In his first ever start in the 7 spot in the batting order, he swings at the first pitch he sees, and he hits it out to give the Blue Jays a 2-0 lead.
Yep, and then Bo Bichette had a home run a little bit later on. Gavin Sheets had a solo shot in the bottom of the 8th inning that made it 3-1. Toronto goes on to win by a score of 5-1. White Sox lose. White Sox lose. Breaking news: White Sox lose. Minnesota and Kansas City, a thriller yesterday.
Miranda launches to left center and deep. Back it goes and gone. Jose Miranda with his 5th, and the Twins here in game 1 take a 2-0 lead.
And the boys in the bullpen appreciate the souvenir out there. 107 off the bat. Just like that, solid contact. Julian finding a way to get off base, put the ball in play with 2 strikes, and then Miranda.
Valley Sports North with the call right there, bottom of the 3rd. That made it 2-0 Minnesota. They would later add in the bottom of the 5th.
Larnach blasts one high and deep to right center. Back it goes and gone. A second deck, 2-out, 3-run homer from Trevor Larnach. And the Twins take a commanding 5-0 lead.
Well, they made it pay for those walks. Last time up, he hit one 110 right at second baseman. This time, he took the second baseman out of play.
KC made a game of it. Minnesota hung on to win. That was a 5-0 there after that in the bottom of the 5th inning. The Twins, though, hang on to beat Kansas City by a score of 6-5. Colorado and Cleveland, lots of runs in this one.
Another 1-2. And Charlie drives his ball to deep right. Brennan going back. And it's gone. 3-run home run, Chuck Nasty. Second of the year. And the Rockies now lead it 7-4.
Well, one Georgia Tech kid against another Georgia Tech kid. And Chuck said, hey, I matriculated there a decade before you did.
Yeah, so I'm going to make sure I stay back on this curveball, hit a line drive.
Yeah, the Indians were up in this one by 4-1. They had their 9-game winning streak snapped. Colorado's hangs on, and they win by a score of 8-6. Cincinnati beat St. Louis yesterday by a score of 3-1. Washington and Atlanta. Some fireworks early on in this one for Washington.
Here's a line drive to left center. The Nats will get a couple of doubles here in the first inning, and Eddie Rosario cashes in his 19th. The Nats are on the board, and for him, last 19 games plus 1 at bat, 16 runs batted in.
Don't usually hear the Sesame Street theme in the background there, but the Washington Nationals would add to it in the top of the 2nd.
Abrams high in the air to right. It pushes Duvall to the track, and see you later. We had a caller, and the ball is out of the yard, and CJ now has homered 2 of his last 3 at-bats, and that's number 9 on the year.
Isn't that how it always goes? Someone gets picked off or some weird thing happens on the bases. Guy gets a base hit, big knock, or a homer.
Washington went on to win. Credit there. Mid-Atlantic Sports Network. Washington beats Atlanta, doubled them up 8-4. San Fran wins by the same score over Angels. Philadelphia Phillies 8-4 yesterday. During the game, San Francisco Giants announcers Mike Krukow and Dwayne Kuiper also paid tribute to Bill Walton.
This one foul. Today really didn't start out very well. I woke up today and read that we lost Bill Walton, Hall of Fame basketball player, and just great human being. Really a friend to all. I mean, just a wonderful man. And that's a guy I will miss. We all will. Bill will miss you. Big personality. 1-1 Diaz. 2 balls and 1 strike. Just loved life. The people. He walked into a room and everybody in that room would be his friend. We had him on, I don't know, 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago. And he had one good line that he tried to slip by everybody, but he didn't. There's the walk. Jeff said, let's see some flashback video of Bill Walton. So I just repeated what Jeff said. Here's some and Walton goes, flashbacks, man. Do I love those flashbacks? He was serious. But just what a refreshing view on life. He was just something else. And boy, did he love the Grateful Dead. My goodness, he did. Ramos.
Yeah, again, Mike Rucco and Dwayne Kuiper there from NBC Sports Bay. As I said, San Fran beat the Philadelphia Phillies 8-4 yesterday. Baum had a couple errors for your Phillies for him. And, quote, unquote, there are going to be days you just straight up suck, unquote. It happens. It happens. It's baseball. Like I said, my dealings with Bill Walton just a couple of times, and on the show back in Boston with Glenn Ordway, the big show, either by phone or in person. And it was in person. Well, I told this story early, but I just remember whatever we were talking about. I don't know what. I'm sure it was something other than basketball. I guarantee it, because you know me. You know, once the basketball stuff is finished, I can geek out with the best of them. And I don't know what I said or whatever, but he said, Peter, I loved your perspective on that or these things. I can't remember what but he said, Peter, I love your perspective on that. I can still hear it in my head, and you can just picture him saying it. That wasn't a bad Bill impression. My Edge, you would have loved this back in the day when I was. We had this thing called the Weiner Line back on the Big Show. At the end of the show every day, people had a special number to call in to just bitch and moan and kvetch, do whatever they wanted. Now, a lot of people did impersonations. We had a tremendous Harry Carey impersonation. And we had one that would call it all the time, do Bill Walton. And the beauty of it was, so our producers, Andy and Brett, would play him like, he'd be in mid-sentence. And I want to tell you the Celtics. And we let it go for like 15 seconds. Potted down. The next caller, hi, this is so-and-so, blah, blah, blah. 4 or 5 callers later, and I just wanted to tell you, Bill be still talking about, to be potted up again. And we do that like 4 or 5 times throughout the whole Weiner Line segment. It was hysterical. I'm gonna get and my buddy Glenn Ordway is going to be inducted into the Massachusetts Broadcasters Hall of Fame. He may have some of these old Weiner Line clips somewhere. And they're right up there. You've heard the Cedric Maxwell. I'm going to try and get Max on the air this week now that they have some time off. Cedric Maxwell, the great color man for the Boston Celtics radio network, along with Sean Grandy. They've been together for a long time. Max was the 81 Finals MVP. You've heard me play the story of the whole thing on the air when I was hosting one day, and Max went in for thought was going in for a tonsillectomy, but instead was a circumcision. Is one of the funniest stories in the history of radio. Someday we'll play it again for you, but we'll get Max on this week. I'll do my best to try to get him on. He's usually very good about coming on with me. Meanwhile, San Diego and Miami, a thriller.
Ball 4 and he walks in a run. Padres will take the lead in the bottom of the 7th. 2 errors in the inning, and now a bases loaded walk gives the Padres a 2-1 lead.
Yeah, that'd be the final 2-1 early in the game in the top of the third. Or the bottom of the second first. Donovan Solano had a home run, put the Padres up 1-0, and then it was tied by Jazz Chisholm Jr. He had a solo shot in the top of the third, but there you have it. The bases, 2 runs, unearned run, basically, in the bottom of the 7th. San Diego goes on to win 2-1. My man Michael King, also who went to my high school yesterday, had a great game on the mound yesterday. Got the no decision. I think he went 7 strong. Gave up just a few hits and 1 earned run. Seattle and Houston in a thriller. Seattle wins by a score of 3-2. Moving on, this is how I found out Bill Walton passed away, because Dave O'Brien for the Red Sox brought it up right at the beginning of the broadcast, and I went right to social media, and Dave was right on. It only happened, seconds earlier. But what a day it was for the Baltimore Orioles. They just poured it on to my Red Sox.
Left center field for Mullins. This will get into Elrod's corner. It goes off Duran's glove. Westberg in. Stowers in. Mullins trying for three. It's a triple for Cedric Mullins. Another Orioles extra base hit. And a 4-run fourth.
The Orioles are doing what nobody else has been able to do against Criswell, and they've solved him.
Now the 6 runs, the most that Criswell has allowed.
Yeah, and let me tell you something. There were some horrible calls in that game, strikes and balls on both sides. Just terrible, terrible umpiring. Speaking of terrible umpires, one of the worst ever, Angel Hernandez has retired. By the way, the Dodger game and the Mets got postponed to rain. They'll play a doubleheader today, so there's the end of your baseball highlights. Angel Hernandez, Jesus. Sorry, Angel, I didn't mean to put you in that category. Christ. One of the most notorious umpires and most notorious ref umpire, whatever you want to call it, in the history of sports, retired. Last worked on May 9th. He's not going to be back on the field. Thank God. He started back in 91. Yeah, yada, yada, yada. He was hired full-time in 93. Remember, 2017, he filed a racial discrimination suit against MLB, alleging that he was rejected for promotion to crew chief or not chosen to work the World Series because he was Cuban. No, you could have been Cuban. You could have been green, black, yellow, green, purple, or all of the above and came from Saturn, Uranus. Yeah, Uranus would be good for you. You sucked. That's why you had so many demerits against you. That's why you weren't a crew chief. You were terrible. He did end up umpiring both the 2002 and 2005 World Series. But in 2017, he got mad. A judge ruled, by the way, in MLB's favor in 2021, writing that Hernandez's handful of cherry-picked examples does not reliably establish any systematic effort on MLB's part to artificially deflate Hernandez's evaluations, much less an effort to do so in order to cover up discrimination. In its rebuttal, the league provided a list of Hernandez's failures, including the horrible 3 overturned calls in Game 3 of the 2018 American League Division Series between the Yankees and the Red Sox. His appeal, by the way, was rejected by the Second U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan last year. So, interesting. Then he continued to provoke criticism as recently as this year, when Rangers broadcasters took him to task over tight calls against Ricky Wyatt Langford, and it was awful. Some of the really, and they were right. He just wasn't good, and I don't know how somebody can be that bad over so many years, but he was awful, absolutely awful. 727-858-6650. Coming up at the top of the hour, after the top of the hour, Patrick Gilroy is going to join me at 9:05. We continue to pay tribute to Bill Walton and also talk about the Eastern Conference Finals. Game 4 last night, the Celtics finishing off the sweep of the Indiana Pacers, and then we will preview tonight's game also between Dallas and Minnesota. I do want to play before we go into break. Here's another funny clip about not too far down from Jay Harris from ESPN. Bill Walton makes an unexpected appearance on SportsCenter with an unforgettable happy birthday wish, Angel, under Jay Harris. This is one of another great Bill moment. It's not too far down. It's right. It's Jay Harris. One of Bill Walton made everything fun. This was a happy birthday wish. This is right under the Boston Radio Watch. It's not too far down. It's right. It's about 1, 2, 3, 4 scrolls down from the show. There you go. This is funny. This is Bill.
Birthday to you. Wow. Happy birthday to you. Hello, Brian. Happy birthday.
It's like when Bob Hope showed up on The Tonight Show, like the theme music, and it's Bill Walton, everybody.
In case you thought I was Tony Bennett or Neil Young, my name is Bill Walton, and I'm here to present Dr. J. Dr. J. Harris, who was born on the same day as the other Dr. J. Dr. J, 58 years old. We're not going to ask how young you are. I was so much older then. I'm younger than that now. Happy birthday to you.
Wow. That's
Jay,
wonderful.
we are so proud of you and so happy for you. I'm not going to be like Kwame Brown and take somebody else's birthday cake and throw it in the face of the birthday boy. I'm going to let
Let's get out of here. Come on.
Slide this right across.
Thank you, Bill.
Very
Oh,
nice.
geez, look at this.
So I said slide the
I know, I will
cake.
try.
Please keep it on the table.
Wow.
Happy
Thank you,
birthday. Happy birthday. Here,
And you're a very good singer, by the way.
here, I have some tissue for you if you'd like to.
Are you sick or something? You got birthday cakes.
cake.
You've got Bill Walton bringing out a cake.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I appreciate it, brother.
Dr. J. Harris. What, 22 now, Jay?
Yes.
You're not taking Botox treatment.
We're gonna just go. You know,
Whatever helps, you know?
my birthday's the same as Dick. I get a cake, but it's his cake. When we come back, the game day guys talking Tennessee and Memphis.
Right, there he
The
is,
Bears making a big decision about a
Bill
key
Walton,
player,
Bill
Lovie
Walton,
Smith.
man. All
What
right,
does he
time
plan
for
next?
there he is once again, Bill Walton, absolutely hysterical. All right, time for another quick break here, and then Patrick Gilroy going to join me on the other side. More of a Bill Walton tribute and more on the Eastern Conference Finals with the Celtics moving on to the NBA Finals for the 23rd time in their storied franchise history. And we'll get his perspective on that and also preview Game 4 tonight. Could be a clinching Game 4 tonight for the Dallas Mavericks as they're home against the Minnesota Timberwolves. All part of the Pete Sheppard Show. We're live from the Naples Well Planning Studio right here on the Riptide Media Network.
Hey, Dad, your prescription will be ready in just a minute. Hey, Dad, your laundry will be ready in just a minute. Dad, your lunch will be ready in just a minute.
Hey, honey, why don't you take a minute?
When you help care for a loved one, you give them as much time as you can, making sure they're safe and comfortable. But it's just as important that you take some time for yourself. At AARP, we can help with information and useful tips on how you can maintain a healthy life balance, care for your own physical and mental well-being, and manage the challenges of caring for a loved one. Because the better care you take of yourself, the better care you can provide for your loved one.
Thanks, Dad.
Thank you.
You're there for them. We're here for you. Find free care guides to support you and your loved one at aarp.org/caregiving. That's aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
All right, class. Let's hear what everyone did this weekend. Jill?
Well, I raised my older sister to a big oak tree. It was at least 100 years old. My mom said I must have set a record or something. And then we went down by a stream and perched up on this huge rock and saw all of these little minnows swimming around way below us. And then I rescued my little brother from an evil slug king who was guarding him at the bush fortress. And my sister and I brought him back to our super twig fort for safety. And then we all laid out and told stories until it got dark. And the Big Dipper led us all the way home. Awesome. Where were you, Jill? Yeah. We went to the forest. It's not that far away. Anyone want to come this weekend?
Ask your parents to take you and your friends to the forest this week and find the fun, adventurous you. It's closer than you think. Check out discovertheforest.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
Okay, men, this is your time. Maybe you didn't choose this, but you're here now. You're gonna go out there and be an all-star caregiver. It's up to you. So what are you gonna do? You're gonna go grocery shopping, cook, clean, be there emotionally and physically. You gotta dig deeper. Drive them to physical therapy, doctor's appointments. Don't you forget about the pharmacy. I know you won't, because that's what caregivers do. Don't give up. Don't ever give up. This is your time to show the world, your family, and yourself that you're tougher than tough. Now go out there and be the best caregiver this world has ever seen.
Caregiving is tougher than tough. Find the care guides you need at aarp.org/caregiving. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick and proud aunt. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing.
But not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. 1 in 6. That little girl sitting alone at the playground, she can't play like the other kids. She doesn't have the energy because she's hungry. School lunch will be her only meal today. It breaks my heart that this is the reality in our country, but it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste. This food is then provided to families and children in need. Being a kid should be about using your imagination, learning, and having fun. These children shouldn't have to miss out on simply being a kid because they're hungry. To find out how you can help end childhood hunger in your community, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
It's hour number 3, third and final hour today, the Pete Sheppard Show, as we came back from the long holiday weekend on Memorial Day. Hope everybody enjoyed themselves. I'm here till 10 a.m., Monday through Friday, pending any holidays coming up. Normally, Martinez and company would follow this program today, but we're going to hold it off for another day while Angel and I, after the show, try to work out a little bit of a technical snafu as to why everything's going fine, except I cannot hear him. And when Patrick Gilroy comes on in just a couple of minutes, you're going to have to apologize in advance for the little 3 or 4 second delay. I will have to ask him a question and monitor on the app and then go back and forth that way. But we'll figure it out. Don't worry about it. Then Mick Colagio at 9:30 to talk some Stanley Cup playoff stuff. But Patrick Gilroy, nobody better, one of the best NBA insiders in the biz. And he will join me at the top of the hour. The phone number, as always, is 727 858-6650 to text or call. And also you can watch the show on the Riptide Media Network video platform. You can also text in any of these venues, and it'll come directly to me or Angel. So we'll get it on the air no matter what. So follow me at PShep326 on Twitter X, on my Facebook, and also on the Broad Street South Facebook and YouTube pages, LinkedIn, Rumble, Twitch, and Spotify. And of course, on the app, Sports Radio 102.9. Angel did a great job. And also, Angel, at this time, I want to congratulate you. I did listen to a part of the broadcast for the Orlando Predators in a very tight defensive game. Was it 69-62? But even though I can't hear you, I know I'll be able to hear you in a second. But you did a great job. Great job, great broadcast, and sounded like you guys were having fun.
Thank you. Yeah, we had an awesome time. Myself and Alonso Puentes Garcia, or Garcia Puentes, we had a terrific time over the weekend. For the first time, we actually had not only 300 plus followers like we did the first game, but I was doing the double duty of doing the English broadcast along with the Spanish one. So I was trying to do the play-by-play evenly so that our Spanish-speaking friends wouldn't feel left out the same way as our English-speaking friends would also not be left out. So that was a lot of fun. I was actually trying to get a couple cuts done over the weekend, but because I got so busy doing other stuff, I couldn't do it. But we had so much fun doing so. It was the best broadcast, I believe, of the season. Good crowd on hand. And we were getting calls from the CEO of La Mejor and some other places during the show, it was a lot of fun. So we can't wait to do it again this Saturday coming up against the Washington Wolfpack at 7 p.m. on Saturday night. And not only that, but the owner from the Nashville Cats was there, and he was pretty much blown away. He couldn't realize or it just couldn't fathom that I was doing not only the English plus Spanish broadcast, but how we were doing it and putting it all together. He was completely floored. So it was cool to talk to him. And he had mentioned Jeff Fisher, of course, the president of the Nashville Cats. So it was a lot of fun. So thank you all who watch right here on the social medias, who listen on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game, also on La Mejor 1340 and 96.1. We appreciate everyone as always. So thank you, Pete.
Awesome. Great job, Angel. Great job. That's funny. When I'm looking at the app so I could see closed caption, it comes up automatically, believe it or not. I know Patrick Gilroy is going to join us in just a couple. Look at Patrick is outside. Patrick Gilroy, one of the great NBA insiders. I don't know if he's mowing his lawn or whatever. Maybe he's hunting. Maybe he's hunting outside. So, Patrick, just a little snafu once again. I'm going to have to ask you a question, and I have to go to the speaker to monitor it because it's just a little snafu again about I can see you fine. You look happy and handsome this morning. In the backwoods of New Hampshire, I can see in the background. But before we get into the Celtics sweep of the Pacers last night and the upcoming game tonight between Dallas and Minnesota, I was telling my stories about Bill Walton. A couple times I got to meet him. I don't know if you've ever got to meet him. My guess is that you have, but just your whole perspective about Bill Walton. You found out yesterday that he passed away, and any memories you want to share, please do so.
So Bill Walton was sort of the most unique of big-time NBA stars because he didn't have the ego that went along with it. I'll never forget when I was 19 years old, new into radio, the Celtics, under their old ownership, honored Bill Russell and had a Bill Russell night at the Garden. And Bill Walton was on the panel. I got to cover that event. And while there were so many current NBA players there, or current at the time, and former greats there, Bill was the one that didn't make the 19-year-old Patrick feel intimidated. He took the time to sit with me and talk with me and wish me luck in my career. He didn't have to do any of that. Bill was one of the most unique personality in still having the type of presence that he had up until the day that he died, where, to pay with Barstool Sports and part the teenagers of today know who Bill Walton is and the man he was for the entirety of his life. And I understand the need to by his family. It's shocking to me that he worked his last 10th of this year, and just a few months later, goodbye to him. It sucks.
Yeah, that sucks. And I know we're having some video issues with Patrick going in and out, trying to reconnect. But that's the kind of man Bill was. And you just summed it up beautifully. Bill was that kind of guy. He would sit down with anybody. He would introduce himself as if nobody ever knew who he was. And he used to help out as many people as he could. And let's see, do we have Patrick back? Trying to get him. Once again. Our signal being blocked. Is Patrick there, Angel? Let's see. I know he's trying to come back on. He's trying to reconnect. I can't tell if he's there or not. Angel, you're going to have to give me a signal. No. No. You didn't say the magic word. Well, we'll try to reconnect with Patrick, hopefully, in a few minutes here, because I really wanted to talk to him, not just about Bill Walton, but about, obviously, the Celtics last night and their win and onto the Eastern Conference Final. There he is. So, Patrick, I thought you summed it up beautifully about that's the kind of man Bill Walton was. He would help anybody, always introduced himself, or like nobody knew who he was, obviously. He was, and in my lifetime, I have never met anyone, from a Celtic perspective, that was more proud to be with that organization than him. He was born to be a Celtic, despite everything his successes at UCLA, and obviously that great Portland Trailblazer team that he was on in '77 when they won, and him being MVP and all that stuff. But when he came to Boston, and I'm a little older than you, I'm telling you, I was overwhelmed. As long as, the big question was, can he be reasonably healthy? And I knew if he was going to be reasonably healthy, they were going to be an unbelievable team. They ended up being arguably one of the greatest teams, arguably the greatest team of all time. And when he first came in the exhibition season, to watch him passing, I forgot what a good passer he was. Robert Parrish was a great two-way center, but Bill added a different perspective. So do you remember the first time you ever saw him play for the Celtics?
Yeah, I mean, I was 6 years old, but my stay up and watch with him, and I got to tell you, that '86 team, it goes down in history. I think is the single greatest team in the history of the league, and Bill's a huge part of that. And we're lucky in Boston. We got one healthy year out of Bill. You know, '87, unfortunately, he went down again, and that was the end of his career. But we got one great year.
Yes, we did. We got one great year. Yes, we did. We got one great year. Mikhail will come in and start shooting threes. Mikhail will come in and start shooting threes. Look shot. Look shot. That wasn't that. All right. So can you hear me? I can't see. Can you hear me? I can't see. Thumbs up.
I can hear.
Processing. So Patrick is there. Okay.
Processing. So Patrick is there. Okay.
Patrick, let's get into what happened last night. Celtics.
Patrick, let's get into what happened last night. Celtics.
Something they had not done a lot.
Something they had not done a lot.
They have been outstanding. Whether it's
blocked.
Jumpers, clutch floaters, and steals.
And steals.
That in fight situations. I think almost and these playoffs, he's against the way they went about it. Something. A lot of us work
I mean, look, this is what the national media wanted, right? So everybody said through the first two series that, you know, the Celtics haven't been tested. We don't know what they're going to be in crunch time, yada, yada, yada. So it's almost like the basketball gods were listening to, you know, Perk and Stephen A. Smith and the rest of the jokers on those panel shows. Right. You know, the basketball gods came into play here, and they said, okay, you must give this team force. Sheer will is essentially the one game for. In
did we lose Patrick again? He's trying. I see he's trying to connect. Patrick Gilroy, NBA Insider.
So they've matured. That's all I'm saying. This team has completely matured. They don't blow leads late in the game like they did, you know, in years past. But the execution on the defensive end is what matters most to me. Defense wins championships.
Maybe the trees are blocking the signal. Just give me a thumbs up if he's back, Angel, because I can't. No. I know he's trying again. He keeps trying to reconnect. I see him up there.
Team eventually matches up with the Dallas Mavericks.
Balls in. Okay. All right. He's not there. Patrick's not there. All right. Anyway, the Celtics win 105-102. Just give me a thumbs up when he's back, because I can't tell. You know, I can't monitor the speaker and do this at the same time. All right. Let me know when he's back. Jaylen Brown, Eastern Conference Trophy MVP. No question about it. He had a big bucket in this game. I'm going to play a highlight from here. One where he tied the game in the fourth quarter late.
Jaylen Brown to drive, leans in, the floater's up, it's good, tie game with 2.5 to play.
Oh, yeah, tie game, 2.5 to play. Then Derek White, the big three-pointers, they took the lead.
Brown on the drive, pulls back, lost the ball, got it back, kicks it out, White, corner three, bang! Derek White from downtown, Celtics by 3.
Yeah, Derek White also after the game talking about Jaylen Brown improving every year.
It's unreal. I knew he was unreal when I got here, but I mean the great thing about JB is he's gotten better every single year that he's been in this league, which is a testament to his hard work and dedication. And I mean he was unreal this whole series, just on both sides of the ball, a complete player that you don't really see much these days. And so both sides of the ball, just he was unreal, and I love being his teammate.
And Jaylen Brown reciprocated on Derek White's three-pointer.
Jaylen, D. White had the tip in last year, and this year he hits the shot to send you guys to the finals. How did it feel to see him get that moment and send you guys on?
Great shot. We work on that all the time. 2-on-1 reads. They veered it. I was able to get to the paint with Turner on me and just found him. And before I told D. White, yeah, just stay ready, it's coming. And that was just a big shot. Big shot to put us up 3 and help us advance to the finals.
All right. Assuming Patrick could not reconnect, Angel. Yeah. No. You didn't say the magic word. All right. We'll try again later on this week. I got.
Wake up!
Yes, sir.
Wake up!
Yes, sir.
Do the finish to order, you lazy cow. Hurry up!
Yes.
Fuck off! Watch my stuff.
That's how I express my anger. That's how I express my anger.
I have a big fucking problem.
Yes, I do. By the way, on Gordon Ramsay's, he's got now the 4th season of his show called Uncharted, where he goes all over the world and cooks in different communities against different chefs, but he's always out in nature trying to find the right ingredients and meeting certain chefs and explorers and everything else. And first episode of season 1, Key West, or the Keys. He didn't make it to Key West, but what a fascinating show that was. You can watch it on Hulu or the History Channel. Anyway, we digress. That's my little Gordon comment for the day. Drew Holiday, who also had a hell of a postseason game, gives credit to the Pacers for being a tough team.
It never gets old. I think this series, so much credit goes to Indiana, to the Pacers. They're a really good team. And I think every game, maybe besides game 2, could have went either way. So much credit to them. But I think winning's hard, especially in this capacity and in the series. It feels good to be able to get the win and then move on to the finals.
Yeah, absolutely. And Drew Holiday, you talk about the straw that stirs the drink. And we say that a lot about Derek White, but Drew Holiday, just on both ends of the floor, just amazing. And I hear people, the way people talk about this team, I just don't know how much they watch. It's like if they don't reach a certain amount of points or this, that, or because Jaylen Brown's, dropped off this year by a couple of points, his average scoring, who gives a crap? Of course it's going to drop off. They don't need one guy to score 40 every night. They got a whole bunch of guys that can do that. Look at this team. They're very unselfish. That's the way great teams are. You don't need one guy to score. You don't need one guy on this teams like this to score 40 points. You didn't need back in the 76er days, the great team. You didn't need Dr. J to score 40 every night. You didn't that pain in the ass, Andrew Toney. He didn't have to score 40 every night either. God, I hate. If there's one Philadelphia 76er I hate, respect. God, did he ever miss against the Celtics? It was unbelievable. But Bobby Jones didn't have to score 40 every night. Moses Malone, when he got there, didn't have to score 40 every night. I mean, the Lakers, Kareem wasn't scoring 40 every night, or Magic or Cooper. Any of those. Crazy. So I don't know. I think people talk about this team in a different fashion or just don't understand the history of the league, a lot of it. Meanwhile, can we scroll down once again on my Twitter page, right below the Josh Carpenter cut about Celtics seeing the dead for the first? Right below that is another highlight from Scott Van Pelt. Remembers Bill Walton as an intergalactic force of nature. This is from about midnight with Scott Van Pelt on. If you see that one, Angel, remember Bill Walton, an intergalactic force of nature. It's from Sports Center. It's right below the Josh Carpenter cut. If you can find that. It's on Sports Center. It's Scott Van Pelt remembers Bill Walton, an intergalactic force of nature. And it's a great tribute. It's got some more funny moments there. And Angel's doing an unbelievable job, by the way. I mean, this is tough, and we can't hear each other, but we're going to get this straightened out today, by God, or we will. Otherwise, I'll be back doing the show back at my house tomorrow if it's not. But we will do our best because we love being here at the awesome Naples Well Playing Studio. It's one tiny little glitch. All right, you have it. You have that cut. There it is. Okay, here it is on Sports Center.
One big thing.
Sometimes the clues are laid out pretty clearly, aren't they? The Conference of Champions said that's a wrap. Celtics are playing a game against a team coached by a member of the '86 title team, and Bill Walton, linked in ways large and small to all of that, has passed away. A box of rain will ease the pain, and love will see you through. In every direction after this gut punch, the love for Walton was a blinding beam of light. I started pondering his life, and it's amazing how many chapters could be their own standalone story. His UCLA days seem like a myth, a fish story. He actually went 21 for 22 in an NCAA final. His reverence for John Wooden was a torch he carried all his days. Walton's NBA tenure was decorated, certainly, multiple rings, a finals MVP, very different tenures in Portland than in Boston. Had his body not broken down, who knows what he might have been, arguably still on the list of best big men of all time. He was undoubtedly on the list of the world's tallest deadheads. Big Red, easily spotted at shows around the world. Rick Carlisle shared the story Monday of Walton getting him tickets to see the Dead not far from us in the old Capitol Center. He sent Carlisle to the back door. Walton told him to ask for Ramrod. Carlisle was far from a deadhead, and he needed a miracle. Walton provided it. Carlisle's date that night is now his wife. The last act many of our younger viewers know and consumed. It was Bill the broadcaster. He was, to speak as he did, an intergalactic force of nature. We had him on once after Oregon and UCLA, and he started talking about bears. Not the cow bears, but actual bears in Banff, British Columbia, I think it was. He was roaring and growling. I just gave up and let him go. Not that I could have stopped him or wanted to. His stream of consciousness that was the soundtrack of the sport was an on-ramp to his passions, his curiosities, the world, the people, the music, the food, the culture, the wildlife, the absolute joy of living his life and doing so with boundless energy and vigor. I admired that so. As I do the stories of his generosity, they're everywhere today. Read about the kindness that he showed Mike Breen and his father. Pay attention to the details of how Walton listened when those who were in awe of simply being in his presence shared their stories with him. He remembered the details because he was interested. You know how rare that is for people who have been the center of everyone else's attention to actually care enough to pay attention to anyone else? Bill did that. He closed his texts with shine on, beam on. He was a spiritual shaman. And while our time runs out because it's finite, the universe is not. And he went on a joyride through its expanse. And now, anywhere there is light, I'll just chalk that up to Bill Walton, bounding through the cosmos. Shine on, big fella. Thank you for your life. What a joy it was that it crossed paths with ours.
Very well put there by Scott Van Pelt. Great stuff as always. And you talked about intergalactic, and I played this cut earlier in the show, very early, a couple hours ago, but it's worth repeating. His longtime broadcast partner, Dave Posh. Speaking of intergalactic, Bill Walton started a big-time rumor at the time of Star Wars. Here's what happened.
I mean, it was all spontaneous. He never told me he liked it that way. He I think, viewed it as I was, in a way, his competition, and it brought him back to his playing days where he didn't want to talk to me at all before the game. We never rehearsed anything, so I never knew what was coming. And I just remember the last game we did together, February 1st. We're doing a game at USC, and George Lucas comes up somehow, and I said, "Yeah, how was your audition for Chewbacca?" And not only did he go with it by saying he auditioned and didn't get the part, but he then said that Chewbacca basically was fashioned in his image and that the character was created after Bill. And we totally made the story up. And all of a sudden, like People Magazine, all of these Hollywood reporters are writing stories, and they're finding old George Lucas quotes about how actually Chewbacca was not created in the image of Bill Walton. But he and I just died laughing how people took it so seriously. And that was my most recent memory because it was the last time I saw him. But there were so many over the last 12 years, especially on the Pac-12 games.
There's Dave Posh from ESPN. Great stuff. Another great story about Bill Walton. All right, time for another quick break. We're going to switch gears a little bit, talk some Stanley Cup hockey, playoff hockey with Mick Colaggio, Mick's from New England. I'll get his perspective on Bill Walton because Mick's a big sports fan also. It is Pete Sheppard Show. Watch us on the incredible Riptide Media Network video platform on Twitter X. Follow me at PShep326 on the Facebook and Broad Street South Facebook and YouTube pages, on Spotify, Twitch, Rumble, LinkedIn, and, of course, on Sports Radio 102.9. I know we have a great following this morning on Twitter X. We have a great following on Facebook, and I can't see the other numbers. I can only monitor a couple things at once, but thanks, everybody. Shows keep getting bigger and better. I know there's a glitch here or there, but trust me, we're going to get through it as this network continues to grow and prosper. It's just awesome stuff going on here. There'll be no Martinez and Company today. We're going to try, Angel and I, after the show, and hopefully our engineer try to get this one little glitch worked out, and I believe we will. I believe we'll get it all worked out. So we'll see what happens. It is the Pete Sheppard Show live from the Naples Wealth Planning Studio. Mick Colaggio up next right here on the Riptide Media Network.
To some people, the sound of a baby babbling doesn't mean much. But that's not necessarily true. By 6 months, they're combining vowels and consonants. By 9 months, they're trying out different kinds of sounds. And by 12 months, their babbling is beginning to take on some meaning. Especially if there's no babbling at all. Little to no babbling by 12 months or later is just one of the possible signs of autism in children. Early screening and intervention can make a lifetime of difference and unlock a world of possibilities. Take the first step at autismspeaks.org. A public service announcement brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
The following is made possible by Dad.
Why was the basketball court all wet? Because the players kept dribbling all over it.
The dad joke. Corny, grown-worthy, but also one of the simplest ways to share a moment with your kids.
Why do you have to be careful when it's raining cats and dogs? Because you might step in a poodle.
And kids that spend more time with their dads grow up to be smarter, more successful.
Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding.
And, with any luck, funnier adults.
Why didn't the skeleton go to the dance? Because he didn't have any body to go with.
Dad jokes rule. So take a moment to make a moment and give your kid a laugh. It's as easy as going to fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
That's really funny.
Right now, our country feels divided, but there's a place where people are coming together.
I gotta tell you, I was nervous to talk to someone so different than me.
Me too, but I'm glad we are.
Love Has No Labels and One Small Step are helping people with different political views, beliefs, and life experiences come together through conversation, and it feels good.
Wow, your story is so...
Interesting?
Yeah.
When people actually sit down, talk, and listen to one another, they can break down boundaries and connect as human beings. At lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep, you can listen to amazing, life-changing conversations and find simple tools to start a conversation of your own.
I know one thing. This conversation gives me hope.
It gives me a lot of hope, too.
Take a step toward bringing our country and your community together by having the courage to start a conversation at lovehasnolabels.com/onesmallstep. A message from StoryCorps, Love Has No Labels, and the Ad Council.
People do some pretty cool things in their 40s and 50s. Why should saving for retirement be any different? I mean, they go back to college, learn new instruments, start skateboarding. Whoa! Okay, maybe that one's not for everybody, but saving for retirement is. With aceyourretirement.org, you can get on track with your retirement savings no matter your age. Just have a 3-minute chat with Avo, the friendly digital retirement coach from AARP. You'll get personalized recommendations based on your input that are easy to understand and work with your lifestyle. It's quick, easy, and free. Plus, it's sponsored by AARP, so you know they got your back.
Woohoo! Gnarly move, Dad.
Thanks, sweetie. So, wherever you are in your retirement savings journey, head to aceyourretirement.org and start chatting with Avo today. That's aceyourretirement.org. A message from AARP and the Ad Council.
Final segment, Pete Sheppard Show, live. It is Tuesday, May 28th. And I'm not hating myself for loving you. If Joe Jett can get us banned in Russia or Belarus. It's been a couple of days. They only hate AC/DC and a couple of songs that Angel plays on his shows. It's the Pete Sheppard Show live from the Naples Road Plating Studio right here on the Riptide Media Network. I still contend that is Joan Jett's best song by far. I do like I Love Rock and Roll, but by far I Hate Myself for Loving You is her best song. Her best song. Michelangelo going to join us in just a couple of minutes as we get into Stanley Cup playoff action. We have done a great job, and all of you this morning, thank you for all the great texts coming in. All the kind words about the show. It's great, despite our little glitch here. And Angel Martinez cannot say enough about what an unbelievable job he is doing through all of this. And we'll fix our little glitch. Panthers and the Rangers go at it again tonight. Game 4 coming up at Amerant Bank Arena in Sunrise, Florida. A very high-scoring game the other day with the Rangers winning in overtime by a score of 5-4. Panthers open up the series with that 3-0 win in New York, but the Rangers have come back and won the next two. Igor Shesterkin, their goaltender, is a 2.33 GAA the postseason. He has stopped 83 of 90 shots in this series, some of them of the spectacular variety. So the Rangers got the 5-4 win the other day. Alex Wenberg beat Sergei Bobrovsky by scoring on a deflection from Ryan Lindgren. 5:35 into OT, was left alone at the net. Oliver Ekman Larson with a rare brain cramp after the Panthers won a defensive zone faceoff, but then saw defenseman Dmitry Kulikov lose the puck. Can't happen. Cannot happen. Both of these teams will crucify you. They will make you pay if you make a mistake. They're both very similar, both very talented. And I picked the Panthers in 7, but who knows? These are two really talented teams. And I think Paul Maurice also, we heard from him. He's got just a great perspective on everything. And before we get Mick on, while we're waiting for Mick to come, here's Paul Maurice. He had that keeping the growl comment, and he explains it yesterday.
It wouldn't necessarily be a manifestation of that growl and that we need to hit more. I mean, we're physical enough. There wasn't that. We spent a lot of time in there, and, we need to be able to get to the net. Sometimes you're just looking for a certain attitude. That's all. just come to the net and well, we'll flush that one. Why would we flush that one? We put up 108, gave up 44. Where can we get better? Where can we turn that into a win? So coming to the rink today, determined to find answers, to deal exactly with the whole thing, to take a look at it, say, all right, make us better, make us a half inch better, an inch better for tomorrow night's game. That's kind of what the coach's job is. Make them walk out of the room certain, right? This is how we're playing tomorrow. It's like Growl, just there's nothing casual. I'm light and easy with all of you, and why wouldn't I be? None of you have played poorly yesterday. I haven't really read much of what you read, so don't take that personally either. It's a time thing. But we would be wired and ready to go in that room. The intensity level will be pretty high. I just want to make sure it's certain when they come to the rink about what we're doing.
Love Paul Maurice. Gotta love him. Mikolaj just texted me, Angel. Gee, what a shock. I'm telling you, man. And I was just in New England a couple weeks or last week, and it was just, he says, a storm knocked him offline. Working on it, will advise. It's been rainy and crappy up there in Massachusetts, Rhode Island, New Hampshire. It's been really terrible weather-wise for May. You talk about April showers bring May flowers. Any May flowers, it's just May mud. That's what's happening up in the New England area. So hopefully we will get Mikolaj on. In the meanwhile, continuing on, Sam Bennett from the Florida Panthers. Bruin fans love him on getting more bodies to the net. Processing.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have to get more pucks on net. They've done a great job of blocking a lot of pucks, but we can still do a better job of getting more traffic to the net, more of our bodies to the net, and then it's just a matter of bearing down on opportunities after that.
Yeah. No question about it. No question about it. And back to Paul Maurice says there's no one on the team that's not fired up for this one.
No, tomorrow. No, I got it all done today. I got. As long as they know how you feel, they know how you're walking in the room tomorrow. Words won't be important. It'll be emotion and mood, but there's nobody in there not fired up, ready to go. I mean, I guarantee you that every single conference final has been 2-1 at some point. Every single one that's ever been played. So we're no different than half the other conference finals in the history of the game.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Sounds good. Looking forward to it tonight. And also it's going to be really interesting tonight with the Dallas Mavericks. I just think they close out the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves are a year away, and everybody, we talked about this, everybody just jumping all over them like because they're the new flavor of the month, the Minnesota Timberwolves. But they're really a very good basketball team. They have the chance to be a great basketball team for many, many years. But this year, at least in this series, they're not ready. You got to give them a ton of credit. Winning all those games on the road, winning 3 in Denver. The last series they're in, and then, excuse me, getting to the ball choked up. Hang on, I got to do a big. Have that with your Cheerios this morning. Anyway, they're just not. They're a day away. You're a year away. They're a year away from really being competitive. We'll see what happens. Trying to get in touch with Mick. Oh, I think we have. So there's Mick. Finally, and because I know it was a big storm, I forgot there was a big storm in the Northeast yesterday. So, Mick, welcome. Little glitch again today here in the studio. I'm just going to have to ask a question to monitor you on one of the apps here. I'm going to off the Facebook app, and then so it'll be like a little 4-second delay in between my question, your answer. Feel free to speak as long as you want. But I wanted to first of all thank you for coming on. How much rain have you gotten up? And I was there to visit my sister about 10 days ago. It was yucky then, except for about half the time. But thanks, Mick. Welcome. And how are you?
Yeah, it was quite an overnight. I was working right up till midnight, and I missed my window to take Hazel out for a midnight pee-pee, and so. Next thing I know, I'm hearing raindrops pelting outside, and next thing you know, it's thunder and lightning, and quite a show for about 3 hours. And my radar said it wouldn't go away until probably 4 o'clock. So we didn't get her out there till a little after 4 for her outside visit, and amazing bladder this dog has at age 11. Unbelievable. So grateful for that. And now today it's still overcast or foggy or whatever it is down here on the coast, and but rather calm now. So it's a new day, and the rest of the week will be the rest of the week. So it wasn't all like that yesterday. Yesterday was a pretty nice day. The fog burned off, and Memorial Day observances in Marion, Massachusetts.
All right, Nick, before we get into the Stanley Cup playoffs from last night, another great game, and preview a little bit tonight. So I just wanted to. I know you're a hockey guy, but you're also a big sports fan, and you pay attention to everything. And I found out the passing of Bill Walton. I've been paying tribute to him all morning long, but I don't know any thoughts that you have on the passing of Bill? I mean, I've never met a Celtic player in my life that was more born to be a Celtic than Bill Walton. It's all he ever used to talk about. You never would have thought about the Portland teams he played on and winning a championship there. He ate and slept, and he was just green all the way, like a Vulcan. He had green blood. But any thoughts on Bill Walton before we get to hockey?
Well, I don't mean to get to hockey prematurely, but he was a great Bruin too. So, and I mean, I knew him sort of in three eras: one UCLA, and then as like the new emerging force in the NBA, beating the Dr. J Sixers in '77 with Portland, and then he really gave the Celtics one more year because the Big Three was starting to show its wear and tear. And for him to be a guy off the bench for the 85-86 Celtics, which Bob Ryan unabashedly calls the greatest team of all time. Now, that seems kind of like sort of, I don't know, I'm kind of sheepish when I think of that, only not because I disagree, but because the Lakers won more championships in the 80s than the Celtics did, and they beat them head-to-head. They lost the 84 one, but they beat them in 85 and 87. So, and they were still around when the Celtics' time had expired and when they were eclipsed by the Pistons. So, really, the 80s were the one decade that the Celtics owned the city of Boston. That was the decade that they owned the city. And ironically, never during the Russell days, never during the Cowens era, which Havlicek bridged. But definitely the 80s. They were the team in town, and Bill Walton made that last championship of that era possible by being probably the best sixth man in history. Throw me your arguments. I'll pass them on to Bob Ryan, but that's just incredible performance by him when he didn't have to deal with the wear and tear that Robert Parrish would be doing, but to be able to spell him, and that also helps McHale, and that team was unstoppable and really a great basketball team of all time.
Michelangelo, now my computer. Jeez, I'm telling you, it's a crazy day on a Tuesday. It's not even storming here. It's already 91 degrees outside, Mick, and sunny. It's going to be that way the rest of the week. So if you get tired of the rain up there, feel free. You can crash at my house, and no problem. All right, let's get into the Stanley Cup playoffs again. Boy, Dallas and Edmonton, they played some thrilling games last night. 2-0 Edmonton. It looked like they were going to blow them out of the building, Mick. It really did. And then along comes, not a natural hat trick, but Monsieur Robertson. I mean, what a hell of a game, a hell of a comeback on the road by the Dallas Stars. And Edmonton was my pick to get to the finals before the playoffs started. And this series could still go 7. I don't know. But just your thoughts on the game last night, and then we'll get into the Rangers and Panthers game 4 tonight.
Watching the highlight reel of Robertson's goals, it obviously helps Dallas that Hintz is back in their lineup, because if there's one place where Edmonton has a massive advantage in personnel, it's by being able to put McDavid, Draisaitl, and if they want to put Nugent Hopkins down the middle, that makes it even harder. And it's hard to match up against that. Tyler Seguin as industrious a player as he's become in his old age. He's broken down athletically from what he was as a young player with the Boston Bruins, or even his first few years with the Dallas Stars. So it's really been incumbent upon the Stars' younger generation. Wyatt Johnston gets all the hype now, but Robertson's a great player. He punches above his weight because he's just so smart out there, and his intuition for the game is so opportunistic, and he really strikes, and he senses opportunities where other guys would never think of it, and he executes really well. He's a big, strong kid. He doesn't move that fast, but he makes up for it with his brain. And having Hintz back really helps him, and that helps the Stars. And the foundation of that team is the back end. So if the forwards get going, look out.
No, agreed. And then you had, incredibly last night, the 3 goals by Dallas, 3 minutes and 33 seconds, the quickest trio mix since they moved to Texas back in '93.
Norm still sucks. Yeah, that was the chant back in the day that lived on in Minnesota, and when their owner decided that the Bloomington Arena wasn't going to cut the mustard and either give me a nice new rink or I'm out of here, and he moved him down to Texas. So the Stars have had the Stars for Texas has had them now for 3 decades. Hard to believe. This time has really flown, and these southern expansion migration of the NHL is now beginning to outlast the eras that preceded it. And like the Hurricanes have been in Raleigh, or at least North Carolina, longer than they were ever the Whalers in New England. And that includes the World Hockey Association phase that began in Boston in 1972. Those eras are now being eclipsed, and these are now these eras has a staying power now. It's no longer categorically what it was thought of in the 90s when it happened. So, I mean, that seems like 3 weeks ago to guys like you and me. Oh, baby. Here come the whale. Yvonne Corriveau. Matt Verbeek. Kevin Dineen. Ron Francis.
I couldn't resist.
Ray Ferraro.
All right, Mick, let's move over to the Eastern. It's still the greatest, I think it's fantastic. Now they use it at Fenway. They use it in baseball stadiums now at parks.
Good. I'm glad it has a life.
It doesn't have the same flair. All right, let's move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. I don't like using must-wins. I thought it was a must-win for the Rangers in Game 2. To not lose both games at home. But when you're this series right now, incredibly had 9 goals the other day. I was stunned the way the first 2 games went. And that's the beauty of sports, the beauty of the NHL. Every game, it's its own separate entity. Are you looking at it as a must win by the Panthers tonight? Can they get out of, if they should lose and be down 3-1, you still give them a chance? Or what do they have to do better to win this one tonight over the Rangers?
Number one, in answer to can they come back, last year taught me that they can. Yes, the answer is yes. So they should play it like a must-win. And the Rangers, they're, like I've said, they're technicians, Kreider, Fox, Zibanejad, Panarin. They're precise. They're deadly. They counterattack very, very well. So the Panthers are like the boxer. They're like Julio Cesar Chavez throwing a million body shots. And then the Rangers are like Muhammad Ali rope-a-doping. I know I'm mixing my weight classes there. I think what to expect in Game 4 is for guys like Bennett and other physical players in the Florida lineup to go harder after Zibanejad. Not so much Panarin, but they want to establish an advantage in the middle of the rink. They have to discourage a player like Zibanejad from being an effective player in this series. They're going to try to beat the hell out of him tonight. I think that they'll challenge the Rangers forwards anywhere the opportunity is presented, but and they're going to try to do it very, very tactfully and not get penalties because they know that the Rangers are very clutch in the special teams department. You can't trust a penalty kill situation against them. But I do see Florida really trying to get after the game physically. I know that at the end of Game 3, a couple of guys went after Rempe as he was pouring off the bench to celebrate the overtime winner. But that really is not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about taking away the middle of the ice and winning the areas that where Florida wins the game. They're going to win their 50-50s on the wall. They're going to win the battles in front of the net. And you're going to see a couple attempts to put some serious hits on the Rangers forwards who are highly significant to their game and are going to try to impair their team. That's what we're going to see tonight.
Yeah, well, absolutely. Well said. Well said. You brought up a boxing analogy, which you were at my house one time for one of my epic meltdowns. We were in the I turned into the Tasmanian Devil. It was you, me, at my house, and a couple of other friends watching the Hearns-Hagler fight, part 3, whatever the hell it was. All unbelievable fight going. I remember from the get-go, right from the first round, going at it. Back then, when it was Hagler, Hearns, and Sugar Ray, and Mr. Nomos there as well. And somebody at the local cable company, which I can't remember at the time, which was based in northern Rhode Island, remember, set the timer wrong on the fight. And it got cut off, I think, in the 11th round, and we never got to see the end. And I threw a fit. I called and left numerous messages of different kinds.
Oh, this must be Cox, right? Is this
The
Cox
only thing I
cable?
got out of it back was I got the next fight for free. But that was one of my epic meltdown. I was apoplectic when that happened. I didn't want to bust up the living room when my parents were upstairs sleeping and you were over and a few other friends. But that was a horrible night.
You're talking about the Leonard fight. That was the only fight I ever seen Hagler show up for looking dry. He had always come into the ring looking like he just worked out for 45 minutes hard. He would be just a glistening copper brown of sweat, like a reflection of a lake. In the Hagler fight, he came in dry. He was never right in that fight. I think the way Leonard made him wait for the fight got inside his head, and he never started the fight the way he normally does. And then I think that Leonard got the officiating that Muhammad Ali often got in his bouts, where if he did what he wanted to do, which may not necessarily be outpoint or out-harm his opponent, the judges would recognize that and award him a round and keep him in fights that he really had no business being in without needing a knockout. And Hagler was frustrated. And the one time that Hagler really had Leonard in trouble, the refs got in there and made like a delay. It was a very frustrating fight to watch because, and credit to Leonard, I was never a fan, but I got it because I guess I didn't like the shiny new toy hype that he got when he came up, when I didn't really feel like there was a lot there. But I turned out to be wrong watching what he did in the first Hearns fight. They wound up later having a draw in their career, which is really weird. But in the first Hearns fight, Hearns was just turning his face into a pillow with his jab, and finally Leonard needing a knockout just went crazy. I don't know if it was right around 11, somewhere around there. He came bombing out and just overwhelmed Hearns with unleashing a series of blows that just you would think he had punched himself out 3 times, and he just kept going. And it just decided, the fight's over. I'm going to win the fight right now. And because he was running out of time and he was getting beat boxing wise, and he just decided to beat him up, and he did. And it was an incredible performance by him. He did it completely differently against Hagler. And as much as, I got to figure that Hagler would want that fight back the way George Foreman would want back that fight against Ali. But Foreman never wanted that fight back. Foreman is a very wise old man. And he understands very clearly that it may not be the same if he ever fought him again when they were both young enough to do it. But if he did it again, he realizes that he was fighting somebody who could figure out a way to beat him again, even if it wasn't the same way. Well, Leonard showed that in his career too, so all respect. That said, the Hagler fight, it will never feel fair to me the way he was made to wait months on end for that fight when he was already trained and ready. I think Hagler was overtrained, and I think he came in tired without the reserves to be himself. And he was very reserved, and he never really got going. And when he finally did, the ref stepped in and saved Leonard. And I just the whole thing was sour for me.
Oh, great stuff, Mick. Those are the days. Hey, I want to thank you so much. Sorry for the little glitch again today. Really appreciate it. And
I had a glitch too. I was offline
at the end of the week, or certainly early next week when the Stanley Cup Finals may be set. You are the best, and have a wonderful, great rest of your wet week up there in New England. As I said, you want to come down here? It's sunny and 92. You're always welcome.
Well, hey, if the NHL gets back to me and say your credential request for the Stanley Cup and the Florida Panthers are in it, then there's a very good chance. So you may regret to live. You may live to regret those words.
That's going to do it for the Pete Sheppard Show today. Thanks everybody once again for checking in. It's been great. Angel Martinez, A+ work again, exec producing this thing, and we're going to try and figure out this little glitch today. Martinez and company going to put on hold until tomorrow. Let's try to get this thing straightened out over here. Hey, everybody, thanks to my guest, Michelangelo, you just heard, NHL Insider Patrick Gilroy earlier, short but sweet, NBA Insider. And thanks to all of you for all the great texts today into the show on all the Riptide Media Network video platforms. So have a great and safe rest of your Tuesday, everybody. I'm back tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. See ya.